Wow, Hallow Stream was
Oh.
2 days ago? That's a long time.
What?
The first stream we did was 2 weeks ago.
Really? Has it been that
It
long?
doesn't seem like it's been that long.
It doesn't. Okay.
It doesn't really. Oh, we're
Is it
live?
working? I don't know.
Okay, I see us on the video.
Yep,
Okay.
same here.
Oh yeah, there we are. All right.
What about light?
Okay, I see us.
No.
Yeah, okay, here. Oh yeah, there we are.
Why does Pat has a pen? Do you have a pen,
In the
Pat?
bottom drawer of the thing, or I don't know.
Oh, my too bad.
That's the only place I ever put it.
His pen.
Whoops.
That's you having fun with that cheese over there?
No, the tea broke. It's okay though.
Oh.
Hi, Celeste. Hi, Pat.
Emily, nice Liz. I said hi to Pat already.
Hi, everybody!
All right. I'll probably tell people on Instagram it's happening, huh?
Oh yeah, I did it. I did a thing. I did that.
You already did that. You're way ahead.
I did a thing. Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, whatever. That's good enough.
That's good. Whatever.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Rocker.
Hey.
Right, I need to
I
share.
do need to get my names.
What do
You
you
have to share. Share what?
I'm sharing the link on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, it's my idea. I should do it. Boom.
Did
There you
anyone watch Oran High School Host Club? I never actually watched it.
I did. I loved it.
There's a second season, apparently.
What? No way. Really?
Finally, the manga kept going, so that's awesome.
In case you want
Hello,
to
Celine.
Oh, well, give me the microphone.
I'm good. How are you, Kim?
Celine and Celeste are here.
All right,
Hi,
I may
Celine.
temporarily lose sound for a second, so bear with me.
Okay.
Awesome.
I haven't started watching Young Justice yet, but I want to because I heard it's getting a third season. You want to what?
I would have thought you would have been all over that because that's like your genre.
I know, right? I like Teen Titans a lot, but Young Justice I didn't hear about until after it didn't get picked up, and I heard it was kind of like ended at that point. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should.
It's getting picked up again. I've never seen it.
And now I'm gonna watch it.
Probably not.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yay! That's the first time it's done it without like canceling everything, and then I have to hunt through the settings to make it work. It's a miracle.
Yay! Miracles do happen.
I want no pineapples in the chat. I have a pen.
No, Pat.
Oh.
Not that. Anything but that.
Orange High Host Club was like the best thing ever. My sister owns it, and I stole it at one point, but I read the entire manga. I'll tell you what, right where the anime ends, if you keep going, it gets really serious. Like, it's still like happy and light, but then it gets really dark.
Yeah, it's like more intense feels like all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, really intense.
Things you were never prepared for, given that it was Oran High.
Yeah. Because it was so funny in the first season. Most of it was just humorous.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this got deep. I think I quit somewhere after it got, like, really too deep. I was like, I'll read this later, and then I never did.
Like, all of a sudden, they all get, like, torn apart. Unexpected.
Yeah. I think that's about where I quit reading it. Because it was, like, caught up with the
finish. The finish is, like, really satisfying, though.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. I'll probably, like, watch the actual anime, though, because I think I enjoy anime better than reading the comic.
It's easier.
Yeah.
You know what I like about streaming on my channel?
What?
I can spam as much as I want, and I won't get mad. Every time I go into anybody else's chats, I'm like immediately tagged as spam. I'm able to type really fast.
Mabel, it's because you eat too much sugar before you type. I always get timed out. I'm like, timed out immediately, and I'm like, dang it! He's only sent 5 messages.
Like, take a break. I'm like, I'll take a break when I want to take a break.
Can't tell me what to do, internet.
Yeah, seriously.
You'll never stop me.
Catch me alive.
So, I do want to know at some point, Miss Sam, will we get the story? We should save the story that was never able to be told
Yep.
public for the end, like as the finale.
Sure.
Because everybody apparently wants to hear that story.
Yes, you're gonna tease them.
I'm pretty
love it.
It's mostly because they couldn't hear it. So like even it could be like a really like not interesting story, but because you could only hear parts of it, it's like
Like what did I miss? Oh.
Yeah. It's a good one. And he's got another one of like, he's got lots. Like his mom had a pretty haunted childhood. And she shared all of them with him. Like if
that's how it's
you
got.
heard of, like water babies, I think they're called. Like they're these ghostly apparitions known as water babies or something.
Water babies aren't ghostly.
Well, what are you talking about? Correct me.
A water baby is when your baby is born with too much fluid in its
No,
head.
like you told. What's the baby thing you were telling me about? That like.
This mystery just took a really weird turn.
There is a story about water babies.
See?
But it is not a ghost.
Do you mean the little things in the rivers?
No, water.
Well, what's the baby thing that like
There
haunted
is a
your
ghost
mom's
story.
bed?
There is a ghost story about a water baby, but a water baby in itself is just when the baby is born with a lot of fluid in their head, and it, you know, they kind of have a larger head.
Nah. Well, tell the story then, since I've already butchered it.
There's a time and place for everything. I thought I will in due time.
Right.
To be continued. Dun dun dun.
Oh my gosh! Were you referring to the little spirits of lost children or whatever that live in a river? Because
I don't know. Like, so this thing, which I'm sure he will elaborate on later, since he's too cool to do it now, was like, it was like this ghostly thing that would like be on her bed watching her.
No, it's not even it. Steve.
See? Then why don't you just tell it?
That wasn't my mom. That was some
Then
person.
who was it?
I never listened.
Chloe's like trying really hard to tell this story.
Yeah, I guess so.
She's like, wait, I got this.
Spoil this, then it's not going to be fun.
Well, then tell it correctly for
I'm not gonna
me.
tell it now. We can't blow it like right
It's
now.
a spooky stream. They're all meant to be scary stories.
You just started.
Save the best one for
You
last.
just started. Let the viewer base get a little bigger, and then don't tell a ghost story at the beginning of the camp.
You could though.
Tell it at the end at night.
Well, all right. Give me that.
Chloe, somebody says you are goals. Relationship goals.
This is a great goal, guys. Really.
Yeah.
Where you can just like correct other people's stories all the time.
You're officially shipped.
No,
Yeah.
I do want to see it though. I want to see if it's set right.
What?
It's
You're
blue.
like a 4-year-old. I just pick up stuff around the room and Chloe's like, gimme
Give
that.
me. It's
I
mine.
need this. I picked it up for a reason.
There. I'm good.
Hi,
I'm
Legacy.
Hi, Legacy Rose. Hi, Complete.
You're so great. What? You have
By
a
the
couple
way-
spooky stream. I love it.
Rocker is
What's his name?
wait, what happened?
The skull. I love it.
That is cool.
What's
I
his
love
name?
it.
Does he have a name?
Topher. He said it. In my defense, he said it. No, this is I have to make a giant death scythe from Black Butler, and
Ooh.
like it involves a skeleton torso, its skull. So I had to buy one from like Amazon, and it was the entire skeleton. So I had to dismember it so I could steal the body parts.
That's not at all disturbing.
Yeah, well, this is also the second time I've done it, so now I know like exactly which body pieces I need. I also had to like get part of the spine. So I also have random vertebrae as well.
Nothing like having
Literally have skeletons in your closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody has asked why a spooky stream? It's practically Christmas. I want to correct that and say it's not even Thanksgiving yet.
It's
It's
not even
closer to
Thanksgiving.
Halloween still. Like if we're not like if you can also go backwards, it's still closer to Halloween than it is Christmas too.
Exactly.
Also,
Plus, spooky streams can be all year round.
I'm fairly certain all the spooky streams are just going to be all year because we have so many fun stories.
Apparently
Exactly.
so.
Gotta get them out.
It's like just
Yes, I have heard of Miraculous Amino. Sorry.
Linda Lee, yeah.
Hello, Linda Lee.
Linda Lee is the best. She's so much fun to work with.
Pat's
She
got a
looks-
fun.
She looks like she's really fun.
She is. She's so cute.
Aww. I don't think I have the spine to handle this. Good one. Actually, really good.
Oh, well, I guess you don't worry about it. That was just us being bitter about Halloween being over.
Yeah, I miss Halloween.
Constant.
What?
Where are you?
I don't get
You
it.
don't even listen to what your friends say.
I had the spine earlier. No, it's right here. I already showed the spine. I'm so confused.
Also, Rocker says it's their birthday tomorrow, so we should say happy birthday, Rocker, like I just did. Exactly like that.
Happy birthday, Rocker. Sorry. Jinx.
Okay, so we're 20 minutes in, so maybe we should have our first story that none of us have prepared for.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scoot over. Hold on, I'm hot, so give me a sec. I'm cold.
I'm hot. No, I'm cold.
I was
Okay.
cold. We gotta. I'm not in costume. I should have told her it's Danny Phantom.
You can still do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Now, story time. Will you move all this mess?
Move what?
How do you live like this?
Like what?
The mouse is on the bed.
Get your
There's
hot
no
chocolate ready, kiddos. Topher's going to tell a story.
Like,
I'm excited.
okay, first
I'm
I'm going to
fangirling.
post a picture to Instagram because since we are pretending it's October and we're in the past, I've decided that I'm going to draw every day now. And so I tried to draw Adrian from Ladybug in the Danny Phantom style. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and
Oh,
that?
whoa. I love it.
so I'm going to share it to Instagram, and you guys need to like it so I can pretend that I'm popular.
Yes. I'm ready.
I don't even know where it is. Where's your phone?
I know, there's like 1,000 square feet here. I'm sure we can find it. I have to tell a story. You have to go find it.
This was not.
Oh my gosh, it was like 3 feet in front of
That
you. Okay,
doesn't mean I saw it.
so it's time for some spoop, and I'm going to share a story. It's not going to be the same story as before, though. I'm going to start with a different story. And, I have to use Square Instapic, so that's going to be a sec. But you all have to go on there and like it. Do my job. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with... I did. It's on my... yeah.
Oh, well, you
It's
didn't
on
tell me.
Okay, so when my mother... I have a mother. We should begin with that. So I have this mom. And she grew up in Ohio, or she grew up in Virginia, I think, but then they moved to Ohio or something. I don't know. Anyway, so they're in Ohio, and they moved into this house. It was a house that was pretty old, and there had been families living in it before, except they had just moved in here, and my mom was about like 11 years old. So for 2 years, she lives in this house, and it's all good. Everything's normal. She has a little brother. My grandpa was like a blue-collar laborer, you know, the kind on all those ghost shows that's like, I don't believe in that. I was too busy for that. That's who he was. And he's awesome, by the way, now. So she lives in this house. Everything's cool for about 2 years. Then she turns 13 years old. Okay, so the year that she turned 13 years old, that's when stuff started happening. So, looks beautiful. Will you, yes, maybe black on the outside. Sorry. Oh, and you do my tags too. You're so good at it. So anyway. Long story short. No.
Like that?
Short story long. Yeah, I don't know. I liked your way better. You were right. So,
Why?
as I love you and I trust your judgment. So she moves into this house. Or she's in this house for 2 years. She's 13 years old. And one night, she's sitting on the couch, okay, and she's watching a show called Salem's Lot. I don't know if you've ever seen it. My mom's old, so it's, you know, this was like 1970-something, I don't know. So she's watching it with my grandma, and my grandpa worked really late nights. He worked at Ford, and he'd come home really late. And so so that night, my mom, her little brother, and my grandma are all watching TV. And they're watching Salem's Lot. And my mom says everything was fine. And she looked over at the staircase. All of their bedrooms were upstairs. And she looks over at the staircase, and something catches her eye. And what she saw, the first time she saw this is the first of many sightings and many stories, which I'll have to tell you over the course of this stream. We have to ration this. She saw what she describes as a sphere, but inside the sphere was this writhing smoke that would never escape the actual like contents of the sphere. So it was like it was in a ball or something like that. But inside was writhing and gray. And it looked like, you know, it looked alive the way it would move around. It looked like it was intentionally moving, but it could never escape the contents of the sphere. And it was just hovering at the foot of the staircase. And my mom said she was so terrified by that. I mean, I would be too. That she leapt up over the couch. She did one of those, you know, carpet is hot lava things, and leapt on top of my grandma and was just horrified and screamed. And my grandma's like, you know, what's going on? What's happening? And so, you know, they look over at the staircase. There's nothing there. Nothing's going on. My grandma tries to rationalize this, you know, as all people do at some point, I guess. I don't know. I would never do that. I wouldn't be like, writhing ball of smoke, it must be headlights. Like, it wouldn't happen. But so yeah, so this happens the one time, okay? Now that you know the first part of the story, I'm gonna let you guys talk for a little bit. This develops into a rich tapestry. I'll be telling a few stories over the course of this stream, and this is not the first time she sees this thing, and she's not the only one to see it. And this begins a long tale of tragedy, of turmoil, and of spook. So that's the first part. Just so you guys have a preface now, and I will return fairly. Go to Instagram and like my thing, or you won't hear the second half. Okay, sorry, I'm working on another thing right now, so I have to.
I'm liking all of the things right now.
I'm quickly. Holy. Did it work? Oh, what just happened? Okay. Okay.
Speaking of
edit this.
spooky things, have you guys seen like the human version of Bill? He's so ugly.
Well, where? Oh, the triangle-shaped thing?
That made me laugh more than it should have.
I loved that. I loved that so much. I'm putting Instagrams in the description, by the way.
Yes, awesome. Oh, Cameron, that's okay. I'll check it later, though.
What did you see?
I shared it. I better see some freaking likes.
I'm refreshing. Okay, good.
What?
Haha,
what is it
I was the first one. First.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done, guys. Thanks.
Test passed.
I guess I usually don't have trouble with Instagram, but I think this would be a good way to get like an instant. I'll tell you once I hit at least 20. Bargaining chips.
Guys, we're only at 5. Come on.
5?
Oh, I got another one. A random one that
Yes.
isn't one of yours.
Okay.
Anyways, so I told you about my ex's cousin with like the ghost guy in her apartment, right? Like last time. So his like that same cousin, her name is Jessica. She would see things, and it started at like a really young age, and they grew up in this house in Dayton. It had a creepy basement that no one wanted to go into ever. She had some older brothers or like older cousins who would try to lock her down there, and she would just absolutely freak out to the point where like her dad had to kind of like put his foot down. It's like no one is allowed to do anything to Jessica like ever again. And so she had like a handful of like weird things she would see, just like, you know, ghosts and like shadow people and type stuff. But anyways, there was this one day where Jessica was like really just afraid of being in the house for some reason. And so no one really thought anything of it, but like they went out somewhere, they came back, the house was on fire. This house just randomly caught fire. They couldn't figure out why.
God.
But after the fire was done, hey Len, they came back after the fire had been put out like a couple days later, and this house had one of those like old school refrigerators from like the 50s or something, where it had like a radio built into it. And the power in the house was turned off. The fridge wasn't even plugged in, but my ex and his cousins went into the house for whatever reason, and the radio started playing.
Ooh.
And so they all like ran out of the house and never went back in again.
That is really creepy.
I know, right?
Scary.
So you think I should have photography on?
Yes.
Like,
Oh, how about publications?
Publications, sure. It works for a CV. But yeah, like, just
that would freak me the heck out.
I would never go back in.
I don't think I could either.
The house, it ended up like getting fixed back up because of like the homeowner's insurance. But it went like unsold for years, like nearly a decade after they had like moved out, and I think they like sold it to the bank or something, and it eventually ended up getting demolished because one family moved into it after the fire, and they immediately moved out. For
that
no
also
one knows why, but then the house got demolished.
Nice. 4 minutes, we're at 20. Proud of you guys.
That's creepy. I wonder if like, I don't know. Wonder if like the radio got passed around or something, like where that went too.
Oh, I don't know. It's creepy.
Because it could also be an object too, not just the house.
Yeah.
So
went into. Ugh, those are the worst.
Oh, you spelled Adrian.
Well, spell it right then.
I think it's almost at 20.
Yes. And Miris is here, and Lenora's.
It's at 20.
All right.
He's coming back to
Yes.
finish the story now.
All right.
Wow.
Good job, guys. You earned this.
That was quick, guys. High five.
Yeah, great job. But it's gonna need to get higher than that for the next part. So
Wow.
it's okay.
Ooh.
Wow, this is really great. Instead of like focusing on my own merit, I just threaten people that I have. No, you guys are cool. Anyway,
It's like a prize.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not me holding things hostage. It's
Yeah.
I could hold you hostage on a live stream.
You know what? That's a different kind of spooky.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, here we go. Only have 18 people on this stream, then you're going to have to make some new accounts, people. You're going to have to tell your friends, and I will tell you, Alyssa, I'll tell you later. Because you're my best friend, and we will play some Overwatch together, and I love you. You're an awesome freaking healer. Anyway, so part deux. So my mom, I told you before, if you recall, that everyone's bedroom was upstairs. So downstairs was the kitchen, the living room, all that crap. Upstairs was the bedrooms. So my mom, she goes to sleep last night, yada yada, does her thing. Or did I say last night? She goes to I'm sure she went to bed last night too. Yeah, I love Overwatch. You guys want to play with me, add me. And Super Smash Brothers. More on that later. So she goes. So for the next couple weeks, nothing really happens. She saw what she saw. You can kind of be like, okay, like maybe I was tired or something. You can kind of rationalize things after a while, no matter how real it was. And my mom had rationalized that. So she goes to bed a couple weeks later. And, oh man, I got so many good stories. And
Focus.
Okay, so she goes to bed. I know how I'm going to do it. So that night, she woke up. She woke up in the middle of the night. You ever just wake up in the middle of the night because of something, and it's not like something grabbed you or anything, you just feel uneasy? Well, my mom woke up that night feeling uneasy. And at the foot of her bed was this floating sphere. And it was writhing and pulsating again. Mm-hmm. And so she was horrified by that, and she screamed, covered her face up with the sheet until her parents came in. And my grandparents say that they had to pry the sheets off of her white knuckles because she was so terrified. But they never said anything. It never happened. So the real scary part about this is that this was a regular thing, although it was never clear when it was going to happen. So, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to spoil that. Okay, so anyway, know this before we launch into the next part. Before that, I'm going to tell you, it's not so much that the thing would show up at the foot of her bed, it's how it got there. And that's the really scary part that we're going to get into next time, and what would instigate this thing showing up at the foot of her bed. So there's a little bit of lore going on. My mom had just turned 13. In my mind, this all stems to her kind of blossoming into a woman, and maybe this ghost needed some kinship, or maybe it was just creepy. I don't know. But next time, we're going to learn all about how this thing got into the bedroom and what would often cause it to do so, and how she reacted to it. Next time, we need to hit...
But you have so much stories. We got through all of them.
Let me just we have 16 watchers right now.
Until we get to 50 likes. 50 likes. I'm not moving on.
How are you going to do that if there's only 18 watchers?
Well, we're just going to figure something out. It's good. I have friends too, you guys. My last post got like 100 and some. It's okay. I have other friends. But over why you gotta be like this? Because this is the best part. And the best part about suspense, as Squish of Squaws says, is the suspense itself, not the actual story. So waiting to let's actually in the comments section, you guys tell us how you think this thing would get to the room, or what was scary about this thing coming into the room, not it being there. So do that. Like my thing on Instagram, leave comments. I'm going to do one of these every day. And oh man, we should stream more often. This is fun.
Yes.
Right now I'm doing my CV. If you guys have ever worked in animation or anything like that, you can have a resume, but then you can have a CV. And so my curriculum vitae is going to have so much stuff on it. It's going to be the douchiest, most pretentious thing anyone has ever read. And that's kind of how you get a job out here. And then I'm going to send my resume all over the place and just kind of see if I'm kind of catfishing the animation industry right now. I don't need a job, but I need to know what opportunities are available. So hold your breath.
I just shared like the picture on my Instagram and told people to go like it.
Hey, thanks.
We're just going to accumulate a bunch of likes from all these different accounts.
My stories are DLC.
Fine.
Oh
my guys, go.
We're We need to unlock it. Ohio is absolutely haunted.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Dusty might have stories about Ohio.
Ooh, yeah. Do you got any?
I do. You know what though? It's Crow's turn. So.
Is it?
Uh,
Okay. My story, I couldn't, okay, not a lot of really spooky things have happened to me that were actually spooky. It's usually more like coincidental things. But, so the first story I had was just like me being stupid.
A lot of those.
It was at, like Hollow Scream, at Busch Gardens. I went one year, and so it's not really actually like a haunted story. I'm sorry, I'm lame. But all the houses weren't scaring me, and I was like making fun of the scare actors, like, ha ha, like that didn't get me, and like making fun of the vampires, like, oh, you know, not this time, blah blah blah. And then we were walking out, and I was like gloating to my friend, like, yeah, I haven't been scared yet, I haven't screamed, and like immediately our spooky pathway, which didn't have like any scare actors or anything, it was just like dark and spooky, and the music was kind of like in the background. Somebody came out from literally nowhere, and I screamed and hid behind my friend. And it turned out it was a staff employee.
oh no!
Like just a normal employee, and I was like, and they screamed too. I was like, yeah. That was my story.
I like that. I like
It's a
that.
good story.
Not necessarily scary, but
Yeah.
November.
You've got to have the.
November isn't real.
Okay, we're not at the next Topher benchmark, are we?
I don't think we are. Hold on.
Over.
I don't think so.
Not
We're at
quite.
40.
What? Oh, are you? Well, I think I'll include I'm going to include a bonus story.
One of these stories has to be from start to finish because it's really hard to enjoy it when it's got like too many breaks in it.
Well, you know, it's really hard to enjoy Instagram when I'm
Oh, it's at 42. Go, guys.
We do have a dramatic reading of Kim's story.
I have to admit, this is working.
And I draw stories. Next time I'm going to be like, you need to go and buy my comic book.
No.
I'm going to make like $400.
You're a cheater.
So we have 42 likes, so that gives us time. Kim submitted a story because our people are too on it.
I love it.
So we want to do a dramatic reading.
Yes, we do need another Voltron one.
Okay,
Okay.
let's do a really dramatic reading here. Okay, well, do we have some what is dramatic? What's a dramatic voice to read this?
I have no idea.
Are there any
It's-
mail rolls?
Mail rooms?
Mail rolls.
No, there's a mom, a sister, and I.
You don't get to do it.
Okay.
And it's a short story.
I'll be
And
going.
also, Rocker suggested that comments should be counted as multiple likes. That might have to go through approval process.
Ooh.
Talk to the board.
All right, Kim's story is short, so I'll read it real fast.
Okay, yeah, you read it.
The story is in 2 parts. My mom, sister, and I. You guys get that? Mom, sister, I.
Yeah.
Went
That is great.
to visit this castle. Why we're at a castle, I'm curious where this castle is. Anyways, it was very old and falling apart. My sis was at the age where she could feel the other side. I feel bad because I don't know what age that is, but you know the age. She felt uneasy in the castle. She took a picture of a room, and as if they were sitting on the bench. Yeah, that's how it's written. And it is said
Question mark grammar.
that the shadows. I think I missed the part.
Way to go, Mabel.
Well, apparently there's shadows. That is the part I missed. And it is said that the shadows in the photo are Benjamin Kimball and his daughter-in-law. Dun, dun, dun. Anyone who wants their story read in my expert.
We're gonna have like 1 million stories submitted, by the way.
Do we
That
have
was amazing.
likes yet? Because I don't think anybody else wants you to butcher their stories. 49. We're at 49 likes.
The
What?
castle was in New
Oh.
Hampshire.
It's almost unlocked, guys.
We've almost earned the next
I
part.
can unlock my new skin.
49, guys. That's a tease. Come on.
Um,
One more like. One more.
I like X-Joy's comment, which is, guys, please like this. It's important. Don't ask why. Like, tag just tagged a bunch of people.
And and Kim says the castle is called Kimball Castle. Kim Castle,
What?
if you will.
You have a castle? That's amazing.
I would go to a castle that has my name.
All right, you've unlocked.
52.
We're here.
the third part.
Yes, you unlocked the third part. This is a good part, so you're gonna like this. Okay. So this is good. This is really good, guys. I'm happy. I'm proud of you guys. So
Team effort, guys. Good job. Double
done.
high fives.
I expect this kind of enthusiasm every time I post. Okay.
You just have
So-
to keep like sharing little bits of the story. It's just like
Right,
"Ee,"
it's-
and
Dude,
then
it's gonna be like once. All right, guys. That's it. Next word next week. So, my mother was. Hold on, which part? I want to tell you a really good part. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna save the juicy bits to the very end. So, one day my mom came home from school, and my grandma collects all sorts of stuff. In fact, she collects those little ceramic figurines, grandma stuff. And she keeps them in curio cabinets, and it's really cool because I collect stuff now, but, that's something she kind of passed down. Anyway, my grandma, and I think you guys know where this is going to end up going, she loved to collect music boxes. So she had a room full of music boxes. That was her bedroom, actually, and she just liked to decorate, and my grandpa was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And hold on, we need to see the chat, honey. I need to make sure. Thank you, darling. Sorry. So my mom comes home from school one day, and she's in her bedroom, and she's doing homework. And she hears what sounds like someone talk outside, like someone like the mailman or something, except it was never she always described it as not talking per se, but as like someone's talking behind a wall. So it was, didn't that sound? It just sounds like you can almost make something out, but it's like
Sounds muffled.
Yeah.
So she could never make out any words, and so she goes to the window and she's listening. She couldn't hear anything, so then she heard one of the music boxes, just one of them. Now, it wasn't uncommon for, if you wind a music box every now and then, it'll go like ding, like it'll reset. So she heard it going real slow, ding, ding, like it was just wound off. And she's like, she said it was just weird, so I wanted to check it out. I don't know why she thought that was a good idea, but so she goes down the hallway to my grandma's, ding. And she keeps hearing it, and she's like, "Mom, are you home? Like, is anybody here?" Mm-hmm. And she keeps going down the hall, and that ding, 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 ding gets louder and faster. And she's like, "What the like? What? Okay." Goes down the hall, and she said it was the most uncanny, surreal thing. As she got down the hall, it got louder and faster, and then you could hear the tinkling of ding, ding, ding of music boxes kicking in. And as she got all the way down the hallway, she goes into my grandma's room, and all of the music boxes are playing. Every one of them. Some of them open, some of them turn. She was so horrified by this idiot when it came to ghostly things. She didn't stick around. She said she leapt down the entire flight of stairs and rolled her ankle and ran outside, and my grandparents came home to find her under the tree outside, refusing to go inside, and they didn't bring her in until it was time to go to bed. She was so terrified by that.
Wow.
Now,
That's really creepy.
It is. Now, she tells my grandma that this is happening. She's like, this is happening. You have to believe me. And my grandma goes, I believe you, sweetheart. It's, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Your dad's not going to believe it. It's blah, 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 blah. My mom would be like, tell me you hear these things. And my mom and my grandma goes, no, honey, I don't know what you're talking about. Next time I tell this story, that she does in fact hear these things, and years later, and by years later I mean about 5 years ago, she revealed to us the stuff that happened to her in this house. And I'm going to reveal exactly how this thing would creep into my mom's bedroom at night. It's going to be dope, it's going to be awesome, and it's going to freak you out. Let's see what we need to get to.
Oh my god.
And the time, we're already at 62. We're already at 62. It's okay.
Guys, go.
We just need to get to 85, and we're gonna be good.
That's such an arbitrary number.
85.
We need to get to 87 then.
87.
Dipper, now it's your turn. In the interim, we're waiting for likes to trickle from the people that don't exist.
So there's this triangle one time? No, I don't know. I'm all out of stories.
You had one story?
The rest are just coincidental things. But wait, Ladybug's cute kitty had a thing.
That was
That is a dream.
werewolf, and then felt it in real life.
Oh, okay. Dusty, you go.
Me? Okay. I mean, I could. Are you sure you don't have anything?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I have one thing, but it's not really that spooky. It's just kind of creepy.
Well, tell it.
But I'll tell it after you tell it.
Yeah, you haven't done one yet, Jessica.
Well, let's see. Somebody asked about Ohio, right?
Yeah, they did.
Scary Ohio, because I have scary stuff all the time, but that seems relevant because somebody actually asked about it. So that when I moved into my apartment in Ohio, well, this isn't even, never mind, this isn't even a story. I'll tell you a better story. I'll tell you a story. So once upon a time, I'll read it from my mind. All right, so once upon a time, I went to...
horror stories usually don't start out with once upon a time.
I'll start mine the way I want to. Once upon a time.
Okay, Mabel. Is it going to have, like, little stars and hearts and stuff?
There will be, but not because I want there to be. I did get another story.
Okay.
I'll tell that. I'll read that one soon, Cameron. Okay, so this is in Florida. This is in like old Florida, like Gulfport. And if you know anything about Gulfport, it's like it's like an old part of Florida. And all the houses are made so that the driveways are in the back of the houses. So it's like an alley in every street. So the alleys they don't have like street lamps really, so it gets really dark in the alleys. That's important. I'm painting a picture here. All right, so so my friend and I are chatting on a driveway, a dusty little driveway, and there's no lights, but we do this all the time. So it's like 1 a.m. and we're just, talking. So we're talking, and I am facing away from the alley, and my friend is facing towards me, so she's facing towards the alley. Mm-hmm. While we're talking, her eyes suddenly get huge, like just massive. And the second that her eyes got really big and she looked at something over my shoulder, I suddenly felt this just this glancing, like if somebody shot a bow and an arrow at me, and it just was like dread right in my spine. And I was literally like, and while that was happening to me, I saw her eyes get really big, and I said, we need to go right now. We need to go. And we started hearing the tree across the street, like rustling, and the sound of something either jumping out of it or falling, like this little like landing noise. So I just say, I'm getting in the car. I'm going to leave. Get in your house now. We ran, and I called her, and I was like, all right, tell me what just happened there, because she didn't know what I felt. She didn't know. She thought I was just reacting to her. And I said, for some reason, I had the worst feeling of dread that happened right then. And she goes, that's really weird, because right right before you told me to leave, something had just jumped out of that tree. Something fell out of that tree, and it had been rustling. And so I was just like, I never found out what it was. And that tree got chopped down like the next day.
Really?
For some reason, like, I don't know if the people were just like, get rid of this tree, but they chopped it down the next day. I came over and I'm like, where is the spooky tree? I wanted to look at it, and it was gone. Like, it was gone.
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
That sounds like something out of like a Goosebumps book, too, where it's like, what tree? There was never a tree.
stump was still there, but like,
Oh, okay.
it was weird. Like, I had never felt that kind of like ice cold, like an arrow, literally. So
Yeah.
weird. So that was one of my weird nighttime tales.
Mm.
I like
All
it.
right, tell her, are we at 85 yet?
Oh, we got
I
20
think
to go.
it's 87.
We have
What, guys? Guys,
Maybe
come on.
if you just go and like all the other stuff.
we do have a story. Pat,
Wait, what?
on. We do have a story from a person in the chat. It is
Ooh.
what's the chat name? Because they just told me. Well, it's Trix on Instagram. So this is a dramatic reading of Trix's story.
Okay.
Yay.
And I haven't read this yet, so this is like sight reading, which I obviously I'm excellent at. So when I was 7, I had a dream about me walking around on the top floor of a skyscraper, and I went outside to the balcony. I saw that there was a piece of the railing missing. For whatever reason, I walked off and was falling down. The split second before I hit the ground in my dream, I woke up and I was on the floor next to my bed. Oh, you actually fell out of your bed. That's called learning time, people. That is called a hypnagogic jerk. And usually accompanied by sleep paralysis where you see terrifying things in your bedroom. So just so you know, don't walk off the balcony. Just don't do it.
Good advice.
Thank you, Trix. That was a good one.
Have you guys heard about the story where obviously this doesn't involve me, but I've heard this story a couple of times, where it's actually a true story too, where the girl was in the elevator and she's acting real funny, and then she ends up inside the water tower of the hotel, dead. They find a body and she's not. Yeah.
Do you mean the real one?
Yeah, the real one.
Elisa Lamb? Yes.
Yeah.
Elisa Lamb.
You haven't heard of it?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, there's this hotel, and I don't remember the name of the hotel. Or it's actually, is it a hotel or an apartment building? It's an apartment building.
It is a hotel.
Okay. Well, anyway, the people there were starting to experience like weird tasting water and like murky water. So the attendants actually went and checked the water tower, and they found a dead body inside. Turns out this girl had been missing for quite a while. The creepy thing is that the footage leading up to her disappearing and then being in the water tower is like her running into this elevator, and then she's like peeking out and looking both ways, and there's nobody there, and then she gets back in and she's acting like really antsy, like somebody's following her, but there's nobody ever in the footage with her. She gets off like on, I think, the top floor.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
got out and went to the water tower.
Yeah, like went to there. But still, like, on the elevator, there's nobody, like, following her. Then, like, however long later, I'm not sure how long it took them to find her. But anyway, long story short is that she was too, like, skinny and, like, scrawny to have opened the water tower, like, climbed it, opened it, and then shut it behind her because it was actually, like, shut behind.
Yeah.
And then she drowned. So it was, like, really creepy.
a lot of the biggest theory behind that is that she was, because she had a Tumblr and I read it, and the big theory is that she either had the wrong dose of medication or stopped taking it for whatever thing that she had, and she just couldn't even like take reality away. Like, couldn't even tell reality.
But then how did she literally she could not have. They did like tests and stuff. She couldn't have locked herself in there. So like, how did that?
A lot of people assume that it was probably open for some reason.
So she fell in.
Yeah, and she just kind of like crawled in there for whatever reason. Very weird. And guys, if your hotel water tastes weird, you might want to call the front desk.
Yeah.
You never know.
You probably should.
Your hotel.
You guys should watch the footage, because the actual footage of her going in and out of the elevator and like looking down the hallway and then getting back in and then coming back like out, it's really spooky.
So weird. And the other thing that people were really wondering about was that it appeared like the timestamps had been altered on the footage and stuff was missing. Somebody kind of debunked that and said like, well, it's not like 100%, but a lot of people did say that the timestamp looked really weird. Like it changes, but it's such a low quality video. Never know.
Yeah.
It is a video.
Yeah, it is kind of grainy.
If you guys want to have like nightmares tonight, go ahead and watch it. I guess it's Saturday night.
Stella is shook.
I am shook.
We only have 11 likes to go.
11.
Yeah, or 10. It might have been 10.
Cameron has another story, but I haven't gotten it yet. So, guys, if you have stories, I mean, DM them me. I'll read them. I'm so good at it. I'm kidding. I'm not.
Once upon a time, there was this lady.
All right, guys, remember, the main character of the story is a girl.
It's very, very important.
Trix, if you send that to me, I will totally read it. Crow, we're due for another weird story from you. What's yours? And then we'll do
my actual spooky story. It's not really that spooky, but a while back, my parents and I were looking for a new house to move into with my grandma. And we went to, it was this older house. It was lower budget. It had like a little mother-in-law place and the actual main house. But it was kind of like an old style house. And like the real estate agent is like, yeah, they're selling it. They already moved up north. And they want to sell the property. And then the creepy thing though was that like all their stuff was still there. So like all their like memorabilia stuff was there. Like all the paintings, all the like little trinkets, like all the important stuff you normally would take. It's kind of like creepy. There's a lot of like old stuff too, like really, really antique-y looking documents, old photographs, and the actual house was like creaky, like really. Anyway, it just kind of gave off like really bad vibes. So we went upstairs, and then like the real estate agent was talking to my grandma and my dad, and me and my mom got left behind because we were like goofing around and looking at all the stuff. And we found like the little attic door, and it was like this teeny door, like it was shorter than us. And we went to go in there, and like the light wouldn't turn on, and it had like this weird smell to it, and we thought we heard something in there, and we're like, shut the door. Like, let's not go in there. I'm pretty sure that's why we ended up not buying the house. My mom's like that terrified.
Yeah, you need to not buy houses that you're scared of.
Yeah, you should totally. The creepy house with the weird real estate agent that was like, oh yeah, they're all gonna just like ship their stuff up north when they're done. I'm like, all of this? There's like literally years and years worth of stuff. I'm like, how? What? This is like, it was just creepy. It was, I don't know.
Stella likes that it might have been a Coraline situation, so it's probably a good thing that you didn't go in.
Yeah, probably.
So do we have a Chloe story to hold us over till Topher story? Chloe story. Chloe is frozen. No!
No!
What happened
This is
there?
the creepy part. The ghosts are taking you over.
Is my stream being haunted again?
Internet.
Oh, okay. Chloe's back.
Internet.
I'm back.
Okay. We
All
were
of a sudden,
asking.
everything just like froze.
Yeah, I was like.
Yeah, it was like you were frozen in time.
So Chloe, you got a story?
I do actually. It's a short one, and it doesn't make sense too. So, well, like,
No change there.
shush. So, when I lived in Michigan, we lived in this kind of woodsy area. It wasn't like farm country, but it was still like country at the same time. There was like a nature center down the street. But so we lived in this neighborhood that back in the 60s had started out as a campground because there was a little lake down the street and it was part of like this pond canal system. But so the houses that were built on this old campground vary. Like some of them are like trailer houses, others are like 2-story homes, and you know they're just kind of mismatched. None of them look like they really belong in the same neighborhood because of just the different styles. And about 3 houses down from us, there was this ranch style red house, and we called it the Red House. And it didn't get that name till after my friend Josh's family had moved out of it. So Josh had lived with his mom and his grandma in this house, and then they had moved out and gotten a house farther up the street that had more space. But for whatever reason, when they moved out, no one else moved in. And like they had rented it from someone, so someone obviously owned it. But just no one moved in, and there was like this patch of dead grass in the front yard that all the kids, you know, we were like 10 through 13, we would joke about it being like, oh, it's because they buried a body there, and so the grass refuses to grow. So we've kind of set ourselves up to start associating this house with being like a bad place. It also had this crawl space underneath it that you could get to from the outside, and it was just like maybe 3 feet of rough dirt and sand underneath, and it was like really tight, and we would like dare each other to go under the house and like hang out because no one was there, so no one's like paying attention to us. But my next door neighbor Mandy, her dad was an electrician, and he got hired to redo some of the wiring in this house. So him and his daughter were in there, and all of a sudden, something started smoking, and the house caught fire. And so we were out of the area, and we come home that night, and the house is just like blazing fire. They couldn't even let anyone get down the street. They just had us all park farther up and walk to our houses while they did their thing. They saved the house. It was only one room that caught on fire. But like, even though the consensus was that, oh, well, it was a wiring issue, that's why the house caught fire, you know, all of us kids who have already decided that the house is kind of creepy anyways for no reason, we were like, oh, it's got to be haunted. Why else would it catch fire? There's no other reasonable explanation. And so,
Fire ghost, obviously.
Yeah. But so this house, you know, it got remodeled, and it looked brand new on the inside, and you could never tell that there had ever been a fire. Still, for whatever reason, no one moved into this house. And it was just kind of weird.
It's weird.
Like, no one could really explain it. But so they had one of those like key boxes on the handle for if like a realtor ever came and like showed the house to someone. And we would just hang around that house because no one's going to tell us to get off the property. And we would like look in the windows and like see what we could see. And my little sister, who's about 5 years younger than me, one time claimed she saw some woman with a knife in her head in the window. And it's like, okay. And, you know, she saw what she thinks she saw and then ran away. And it was all just kind of like, what? Like, and so she said she saw Bloody Mary because at the time that's what she thought Bloody Mary was. You know, just like this female apparition with like a knife in her head. It's like, okay. So we went from it's just a dead patch of grass to it caught on fire. Now all of a sudden there's a lady with a knife in her head. Okay. This
is how rumors work.
It's the Red House, you know? Yeah. It's haunted. But there were other like little things, like people, like the other little kids, granted we were all little and probably had just very active imaginations. We would feel like we were being watched a lot of the time. A couple of our friends said that they saw other like weird things in the house, like little shadows or something, but nothing ever really happened. But so this one time, and it was funny because Josh, who had lived in the house, was even like super into this. While nothing had actually happened to him while he lived there, I had actually stayed the night in that house while his cousin Destiny was in town, and nothing had happened then. So it was just kind of weird going from like normal house to suddenly it's like extremely haunted.
It's haunted.
But we would.
It's fine. It's haunted.
We would look in the windows, and so every now and again we would jiggle the door handles just to see what would happen.
Just casually, jiggle them.
It's no problem.
I do that too.
So one day we were just hanging around the front yard of this house, and the front door was unlocked. Someone was able to twist the handle all the way, and there's like 7 of us. It was actually really cool because we were all within like a 3-year age range from one another for the most part, and there's like 10 of us total, but there were like 7 of us there, and we realized that the house is unlocked. It's like, holy crap, like we can go in the house if we want to, like, oh gosh. So, and then half of us were like, no, we shouldn't, and then the others like, yeah, we finally get in. But so we like formed a single file line to get into this house, and we're all just kind of like holding onto each other's shoulders, like, okay, are we ready? Are we
As
ready?
you should when you're going into a house.
Yeah. But I was like the second from the front, I'm pretty sure, because I didn't want to get in trouble if we got caught for breaking and entering. But so the guy at the front opens the door, and I remember there was like a second where like you're anticipating something happening, but then nothing happened. And like inside, like all the walls were white. The carpet, I think they were replaced with like a light like beige or something. And it was really weird because all of a sudden, and I had never had any issues with this house, all of a sudden I swear that I heard this strange mixture of like a gorilla like doing like this weird like jungle challenge like noise mixed with like a witch's cackle. And it
voices that don't.
Yeah, it was like this. It was like 2 or 3 different voices. Those are the only 2 that I remember kind of picking out at the time, but no one else heard it. And it was just really loud and felt like it was right in my ears. And I just started screaming, turned around, and ran. And no one else knew what was going on. So the other 6 kids all started screaming and followed me. But so I got, like 100 yards down the street or something before I stopped, and everyone's like, "What happened? Why'd you run?" It's like, you guys didn't hear that? Like, it was screaming, like something was like screaming and laughing at me at the same time. I have no idea what it was. And like, that was it. We never tried to go into the house again. It was like no one else heard it, but they were all like afraid that they would.
The chat has suggested, and I don't want to repeat this because it's silly.
This theory, I think it's too far out there.
It's Harambe.
Maybe if there was like some kind of time loop thing
Emerging from the
kind of
Maybe
going
like
on.
Interstellar.
I like how it wasn't, well, what is it? It's still a gorilla, apparently.
Yeah, well, I could not even if I tried to find like an audio clip of a gorilla doing like, its supremacy, like roar against other gorillas and like witches cackles and like weird clown laughter or anything. Even if I were to mash all 3 of those like sounds together, I still don't think I would be able to accurately replicate what I heard. And I still can't explain it because I am not like that. My mind is not that active. And if it is, it's usually like something that I saw, not something that I heard. So it's weird.
So it's not like you usually have like a hyperactive
Yeah.
sensory or something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was really little, sure, like 6 or something, I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark when I wasn't really allowed to.
I love that show so much.
Me too. That and Goosebumps.
I really am scared of the doll episode where the girl turns into a doll.
Oh my god, me too!
Yes!
She turns into the ceramic doll, like in the dollhouse. Oh, that was so...
Oh.
The swimming pool one.
You know, Canada
I didn't like that.
Netflix has all of the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes on their instant play. I don't know why we don't.
Really?
It's not fair.
Falls off.
That's awful.
Her arm
That's
comes
really
off.
sad. That was a good story.
That was scary.
Full of intrigue. Hey, Topher, we've earned another chapter.
Yes, you have.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
It's like flying.
What happened to Chloe? She's out of the picture. Okay, there she is.
All right. Come here. Give me your cleat. Okay. So, we're back. Now, I'm going to finish the story.
Yay!
And there's even a bonus story.
Yay!
The bonus story is that while we were filming the last Meraki League, we went out to dinner, and Chloe was practicing her fighting moves, and she karate chopped a Hispanic woman in the neck by accident.
Me too. That's not as scary.
Good.
That really happened.
It was an accident.
She really did that.
That's
I
a
was
true story.
I was like,
Anyway,
and then she walked by from behind me where I couldn't see, and then it went like right in her neck. And it was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so my mom would go to sleep at night, and like most of us, and she one night, or I'm sorry, this was a recurring thing. So she'd go to bed. Now her room was on the top floor. However, from her doorway, she could see the staircase where people would walk up. So if, her dad was walking up the stairs, she'd see his head going up the stairs, disappear around the corner, and then walk past her room to get to his room. Well, I think the scariest part of this whole story, well, one of them, is the fact that before this thing would show up on the foot of her bed, she would see it ascend the staircase first. So she would be laying in bed, and she'd see that orb go up the staircase and disappear around the corner. She said, like, the scariest moment of her life was knowing that that thing was coming back around and going past the wall and into her room. And for nights that happened. Maybe I will get into my Danny cosplay. Maybe not. I'm working. So that would happen. So 5 years ago, my grandma admits that stuff did in fact happen to her there, and she just didn't want to. She just didn't want to share it because she didn't want to fuel anything. So this thing would show up at my mom's door, particularly when my mom had been punished for something, if she'd been out of line or she had, gotten. So one night, my mom had been really bad. And I think she got, there was a big shouting match, and my grandma sent my mom to her room, and she was just super, super angry. My mom was crying. And that night, the thing did not visit my mom. My grandmother says that that night, my grandma woke up, and she was not in bed. She was on the floor, on her hands and knees, and she woke up and she didn't know why she was on the floor. And so she got up and she realized quickly that she couldn't breathe. It was like something was holding her like low on her neck and she couldn't breathe. And so my grandma's scrambling around, knocking stuff off the, off the nightstands and stuff. And she goes into the bathroom to try to figure out, is there something wrong? Am I dying? Am I sick? Whatever. And she can't see anything. And so she said, my grandma says that she grabbed the sink that was in there and started just heaving herself over it, trying to like force the Heimlich on herself. And eventually, after the 4th or 5th time, this thing let go of her, and she was able to breathe. And she said she said she was really rough on my mom that night, and that was not the first time she'd experienced things. My grandma also admitted to hearing those weird voices, the ones that you couldn't quite make out. It was really muffled, and And my grandma says that she would always hear it coming out of the wall, and she couldn't,
Ooh.
and she'd go around the wall, and there was nothing there. And she thought it was, yeah, so she was really horrified of that. And so here's the awesome end of this story.
Getting goosebumps now, actually.
Yeah.
I should have the X-Files theme playing. So they eventually moved out of that house. And my grandpa never saw anything. Her little brother never saw anything. My grandma never saw anything, but experienced a lot of stuff. And they moved out. And they actually moved to the house right next door, except it wasn't really next door. It was all the way down a hill, but technically that made them neighbors since that was the closest house. And that was the house that I visited my grandma in most of my life. And it was really nice. Nothing wrong there. It was a really cool place. Really, really cool. But I could see that house that they talked about. You could always see it. So anyway, my mom moves down to that house when she's like 16 or something like that. And new neighbors move in. And they have a little kid. A little boy, actually. And he was pretty young. He was like 11-ish. And a couple of years pass. And one day, my mom is playing with the little boy next door. And he says to her, and she says, it's so crazy that he says this. He says, hey, when you lived in that house, did you ever see anything really weird, like smoke disappearing around corners and stuff? And my mom's like, yes. And it was as he turned 13, the year he turned 13, that thing showed up and terrorized that little boy too.
Oh.
And so that is the awesome conclusion to that story.
Oh,
So creepy.
Yeah. And so my mom like lives by that story and talks about it all the time. And I'm never returning to my hometown again, but I'm always like, why doesn't anybody go in there and try to like set up a camera or something? That thing still must be there. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god. You guys should do it as Danny and Sam.
Yeah, right. I'll do a Phantom Finders episode.
Bad idea.
It could actually end up
Something
being
really follows me home, and I spiral into an awful depression.
Gosh.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I forgot.
What?
It could be like Stephen King. You're a writer, so don't tempt it.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so
All the bad things happen to the writers.
I do want to finish my other story that nobody got to hear, except unfortunately I'm 4 likes away from 100. So.
Oh boy, guys!
Guys,
I know we're gonna
come
need
on.
a board.
So is that
We got one.
you have an
Can you do
intermission?
this?
The intermission story. Oh, hold on. They just liked a cool picture of me from a long time ago. Intermission story.
Like all the pictures, guys, go.
Yeah, just go like everything else. No.
Everything.
I'm trying to think of a good intermission story. So I do know a story of a guy. It was not a guy that I knew personally, but this is the water baby story. Now this guy, this always terrified the crap out of me, this story, because one day this guy said when he moved into this new house and he went to bed that night and everything. I mean, things were kind of cool for the most part, but this part, it just scares the crap out of me. He said one day he woke up as a kid. I'm sorry, he was a kid, and he woke up. And on the pillow next to him was a baby. But this baby had a really big head. And that's, in medical terms, a lot of the time they'll call that a water baby or something when it just has too much fluid in its head. So he says he wakes up and there's this baby laying beside him, like cooing, like, and has this giant head. And that terrifies the crap out of me to begin with. So he said he scampered up, ran out of the bedroom and told his parents, and of course stupid parents were like, oh, I just had a nightmare. And so he said he went back to his bedroom and that baby was floating above the bed, still like garbling and cooing, like the scariest freaking thing in the world. So he actually returned to that house many years later trying to figure out what's going on, and his girlfriend at the time said, hey, you should just reach out to it, it's a baby, I think it's it's probably like the dumbest thing you could do.
Yeah. It's like, let's break out the Ouija board. That
that's
should
what
be
he
a
said.
great
She's like,
plan.
let's communicate with it. So they do that. They do that, and of course she doesn't live there, so she leaves. And he said,
Of course, the one that suggested it.
So he said later, like later on in the week, he'd be laying in bed, And he had a dog at that point, and it was a big dog. And the dog would start, looking at things and going around corners looking for things, like you see something. And he was always like, that's, it's kind of odd. But then the dog would the dog would sleep in his bed at the foot of the bed. And he said it was so scary because one night my dog fell into a really deep sleep, and you could always tell when he fell into a deep sleep, the big breath out, the big exhale. And he said that's when he started seeing these little things crawling on the floor just really fast, just right out the door. And they were all black, completely black. And he said he didn't know what to call them, so he just started calling them imps. That's scary. And he said they'd crawl around on all fours. The only thing I can think of that sounds like what he was talking about would be like kind of how the Heartless move a little bit.
Yeah.
Just when it's the really fast, and kind of like the Nobodies where they just kind of just go.
Yeah.
So he said for years, he would just panic every time his dog would fall into a big, deep sleep, because whatever these things were didn't like the dogs chasing him. And when the dogs would fall asleep, those things would come out from under the bed in the corners and scamper around the room. And he says it was not the baby anymore. Like it was whatever it was demonic and terrible. And it was just
it like woke it up. Yeah, it made it worse.
Exactly. So I think it's all demons and stuff, but
yeah,
just demons. You know how that is.
Just demons, guys. Let's invite them in.
Is it time? Can we get the story?
Yeah, you can get the story. We're at 97. That's close enough. So,
let's cross our fingers, guys, because, like, honestly.
Is this the beginning of the story?
We're hooked up to the wired internet now, so there shouldn't be any problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a couple years ago, I don't know where we left off. I'll just tell the whole thing again. Cliff notes. I went to my grandma's new house. They live in Virginia now, and we all went there. And so we decided that since the whole family was there, we never get to see each other, that we would just have some fun. So my sister got this new app on her phone called like the Ghost Communicator. And we thought we were like, let's go just be like the ghost hunters guys and just go down there and be silly. And so we went down to this basement. Now this house is really nice and really sweet and really warm and really, it was always really nice. It is way, way back in the sticks though. Like it's in the middle of nowhere. No internet reception, no, landline phone. And so we go down there and yes, keep watching Phantom Finders. And so we go down in the basement. I have this little tiny recorder that my grandma has, and we start asking questions. We're like, is anyone in here with us? Is anything this happening? Is this happening? Is this going on? And we're kind of goofing with each other and, kind of being facetious and intentionally inappropriate. And we, so eventually it was just me, my mom, my sister. My sister's, everyone's older than me. I'm the youngest. And my girlfriend at the time, my ex-girlfriend now, she was there as well. And so we go in the basement, we do this, we're doing our thing, blah, 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 blah. And eventually I'm like, okay, guys, I've had my fun. I have homework. I was in college. I had homework. So I'm sorry, I heard dogs. So I decided.
I know that was like an actual creepy noise, and I was like, sorry.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. So I go upstairs for a little bit. I do homework. They're still doing that. Like they're still doing their thing. And eventually I come downstairs at one point and I open up the door. I'm like, do you guys need anything? I'm like, do we have any of this, that, or the other? And they're like, no. They're like, okay, cool. So I go back upstairs and instead of shutting the basement door all the way, I leave it open a crack. And I go back upstairs. At that point, my ex-girlfriend says, she goes, they're all talking as if they're talking to spirits or something. And she goes, oh, look, Chris didn't close the door. I was called Chris at the time. She goes, he didn't close the door. She says, and my grandma only likes when that basement door is closed because it lets in a draft. And she goes, you better shut that door because Mama doesn't like it when the door is open. And, that was all caught on tape and the whole thing. So they had their fun. They're done. They passed me the evidence. And since I had a bunch of homework to do, I was like, guys, I'm going to go back to HQ and I'm going to go review the evidence. Okay. And we were all like, ah, ha, ha, ha. We're all having fun. So I actually plug it in and I was doing homework and I think I was playing some Zelda too. Like I was just doing multitasking. And so at one point I'm sitting there listening and I'm not sure what was asked, but there was a lot of dead space. And in the middle of the dead space, there was a noise that kind of caught me off guard. And I'm like, what was that? Was that like, I roll it back. And what it sounds like the closest thing I can figure out is that it might have said Margaret, but it said it like the most demonic, scratchy voice. It sounded like Margaret, and I was like, what the? I was like, what is that? Oh my God! And so I'm like, that's really scary. I'm gonna mark it down, but I don't know. It could have been someone going up against someone's pocket or something. I don't know. It's not like Class A, but it definitely sounded growly and like guttural. So I'm like, all right. So I keep doing my thing, and you'll catch little clicks and little things every now and then. Nothing crazy, but there's a part of the story I haven't told you.
What?
I just
Whoa! Global exclusive.
I remember
Bonus.
there is a part of the story I haven't told you. Oh man, I forgot about that. Okay. It's kind of dubious whether or not it's real or not, but I'll tell you at the end. So anyway, so I keep listening. Nothing's glaring. Nothing's coming out of me, and until I get to the part where I show up downstairs and I say, "Do you guys need anything?" And I don't shut the door all the way. Now, every time that we've had any sort of every time I heard anything on that tape, it was always after my ex-girlfriend spoke, and she was a nanny at the time. She was really good with kids and always watched little girls, and she said that a lot when she was down there. She's like, I watch little kids, I watch little girls. So I go downstairs, and I said, okay, well, I'll be upstairs, guys, and I don't shut the door. I leave it open a crack. And my ex-girlfriend at the time, she goes, Chris, you better shut that door. Mama doesn't like it when the door is open. And clear as day, 100% Class A, unmistakable. After she says that, you hear a little girl. There were no little girls or little children, even within 4 miles. Goes, the door is open. I mean, just clear as day, just mimics her and says, the door is open. And you can hear it. And I'm like, when you hear something like that, it almost like brings tears to your eyes. It's really scary. And I was like, oh my God. And I listened to it again. And clear as day, Mama doesn't like it when the door is open. The door is open. And I'm like, oh my God. So I take this voice recorder and I'm running down the hall and I'm like, put this in your ears. Tell me what you hear. Tell me I'm not crazy. So my sister puts it in her ears and she's sitting there listening. And I'm like, and I know when it's coming. And I watch her and she looks at me and her eyes all well up and she's like, oh my God. And my ex-girlfriend ripped the thing out of her ears and threw them. And my mom heard it, and she's terrified. Grandma still has this recorder, which I'm going to have her send to me. Remind me to do that.
I don't want it here.
Yeah, I don't know if I want it here either.
Don't invite it to your house.
Yeah, right? Anyway, so we hear that, and we're like, oh my God, that is terrifying. Here's the part I didn't tell you. This is actually bizarre. So when we heard the term Margaret, now you know how they say that the ghosts and stuff can... like the Ovilus and stuff, that they can manipulate technology and stuff to read out things. If your TV glitches or you type something into Google and, something messes up, like most of the time that's technological error. But this was such a specific weird thing that I feel like I have to mention it. So remember, I thought I heard someone say Margaret, and I'm like, Margaret. I said, is there a Margaret? Does anybody know a Margaret? My grandma's like, I used to know a Margaret. I used to know this and that. And I'm like, that's so weird. Let's go on Google. Now, they didn't have wireless internet. They did have wired internet, so dial-up. So, but it was good. It worked. And so I go, well, let's just look it up. Let's see if we can go on our family tree or something like that and just see if there's a Margaret in the family. So I type into Google. I typed in Margaret, and I typed in Wytheville, Virginia. I think I typed in my mom's surname. Maiden name is McCone, so I typed in like Margaret McCone to see if there was any relative there. I typed it into Google, and then I typed in like Wytheville, Virginia, just to see if there was any database of that. And I click enter, and instead of going to your typical Google search where you get like 135,000 results or something, it brought up 2 things, and only 2 things. And it was almost like it was an error, and it brought it up, and it brought up 2 things. One of them on the bottom was just a bunch of garbage text. Just garbage, like not even English. And the one on top, cannot believe I didn't mention this to you, was some sort of like family something or the other, like one of those
family tree?
Yeah, one of those family tree kind of things or something like that. But highlighted in the text, in the text that shows up beneath the actual link, was Christopher Putnam, Tiffany Vion, which was her name before she took my last name, and part of my mom's name. It was a family tree thing that went from Margaret McCone straight to the 3 people in that house: Tiffany Putnam, or Christopher Putnam, Tiffany Vion, and part of my mom's name. And I clicked on the link, and it was a dead link. And I went back to do the Google search, and I got my typical 165,000 blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I couldn't get back to it, right? Because I couldn't refresh. If I refreshed it, it gave me the real Google search. And that was, so that got me thinking, like, can things like that manipulate technology to read out things like that? But it actually said our names in there on the family tree. And I remember it because my sister's, you don't hear her say Tiffany Vion anymore. It's Tiffany Putnam. But it was in there. And I'm like, that is so strange. And I've never been able to find anything like that before. But we did that. We came back a couple of years later, and we all had to sleep in the basement that year because there were too many people in the house. And we were so terrified still of that happening that when none of us got anything. And I remember at one point I finally got to sleep at about 4 a.m. And as soon as I nodded off, Chloe says she woke up, like one of those weird wake-ups where you just wake up and it's odd. And a split second after she woke up, my sister started screaming, saying that something grabbed her foot, which was actually about 4 feet from where my head was, where I was resting, where I was sleeping. And man, I must have sprang like 15 feet in the air. I landed in Chloe's bed. I'm like, oh! And that was still terrifying. They moved out from that house, but my grandma still has that recorder. And still to this day,
it was listening to that recorder.
It was because I think it was because we listened to it that all that stuff happened.
Because I'd never heard it before.
Crap. But I do think that stuff can manipulate. Like, I mean, that's why batteries drain and weird things happen like that. But for that Google search to show that didn't even have any of our last names. Putnam and Vion are not the last name I put in. If it was a family tree thing, sure. But where were the other 165,000 results?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you a story about the technology thing, because it wasn't similar at all, but it was, and this one is like, Lenore is really scared. This one was like, this was a long time ago. This was right when AIM was still in, like AOL Instant Messenger, so that's like, I'm old, hi. It was, but AIM was in, and this was right before like cell phones had like apps. Like they did, but they were like super limited. Like you didn't have AIM on your phone. And I was on the house phone with my friend, and so we were just talking, and like this was back when you talked for like 6 hours on the phone and just wasted time. So I'm also on the computer and I'm just clicking away, and I was talking on the phone, and I saw from the corner of my eye, my brother was at work, and I saw him duck in, and he said, yo, and then he ducked back out, and I was like, oh, hey, and I tell my friend, hang on, I'm going to go say hi to my brother. He just got back from work. It's about 11 p.m. So I go over to his room, and I'm already like, oh my gosh, this and this, and I'm on the phone still with my friend, and I'm saying like, did you hear about, and I'm pushing my brother's door open. It's completely dark. He's not home yet. So I go, did you not hear my brother say hello? And she goes, yeah, I heard it. I definitely heard that. And I heard you say hi, and you went into his room, and he said hi to you first. So I go, okay, we're just gonna ignore that this happened. And I leave, and I close his door, and I just go back to my room, and I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend it never happened. Nothing happened. So I'm just talking to her. And I'm on AIM on my computer, and I see on the little window where it says your friends are signing in, my brother's screen name is flashing on and off. And this is before phones had apps. Right. So it wasn't on his phone. So I'm like, hang on. So I walked to his room. I had closed the door when I had left his room. It's open, but it's pitch black inside. And I look, and I was thinking, like, well, maybe his computer is on. It's totally off. His computer's off completely. So I just kind of stare at it for a moment, and I just, when you just close the door and you're like, not gonna deal with this right now. I'm terrified. I'm home alone, and I'm like a teenager, and so I turn on all the lights, and I'm sitting in my room, and I feel like something. I'm leaning on my bed and something tugs my ponytail really hard. So I literally just like, I go out into the living room and I'm just like, you need to stay on the phone with me until somebody comes home. And the entire time I'm on the phone with my friend, something is literally just like running its fingers up and down my shoulders. Like I could just feel it. You know when you have that ability to like ignore something that's happening? For some reason I was just like, just stay on the phone with me. Just stay on the phone. Just stay on the phone. So that's my, but like Abe was going nuts. The instant messenger was going crazy, man.
That is weird. That actually reminds me
really weird.
That I did not tell you guys. This happened this year. And
I'm thoroughly creeped out.
I'm going to tell you this story, and it's going to be awesome. So,
I'm not going to be able to sleep.
This was about February when this happened. I told you guys I had an animation company. My animation company out in Michigan was in this big monster building, and it was awesome. And we had the whole second floor. So so one morning I went into work, and I had gotten in there pretty early. So I was there about like 7:30 to 8.
Yeah.
And I went in there, and but I had rested well, and all was good. And sometimes I'd bring my cat into work, and they loved him, and he's pure white. And he was just a kitten at the time. And so I go into work, and my desk in my little office had, you could see underneath it, and there was a glass door behind it. And so I was sitting there typing, doing my thing. And again, from the corner of my eye, by kind of like where my feet and my garbage can were, I saw the butt of my cat going around the corner. For a second, I was like, my cat went around the corner. But then I'm like, my cat's not here. I didn't bring my cat. But I'm like, okay, I'm going crazy. It's super early. I get it. Yeah, I'm like, I get it. Okay, cool. So I'm typing. I'm doing my thing. Adam, the host of the show, he comes into work. And we're all doing our thing. And at that point, I had quite a few people around me, and we were all talking and doing our thing. And Adam comes in, and he's talking to me. And he starts, I forget what we were talking about, something about we needed some paperwork or something. And he goes, he's in the middle of talking to me, he's making eye contact, and he goes, yeah, I'm going to have those, I'm going to have the hands-on segments done by Thursday. And he stops, and he goes, and he bends down under my desk, he goes, hey, kitty. And I'm like, and then he goes, oh, where'd he go? He said, and I'm like, what did you, he says, I saw Kitty, he must have just taken off. I said, I did not bring the cat in today. I did not bring the cat. And I'm like, what did you see? He says, I saw the butt of your cat, his tail and everything, go around your garbage can and out the door. And I'm like, that's crazy. So at this point, because I'm like a conspiracy theorist, I'm like, I'm going to find out what's going on. So I scour this whole building. I'm like, there is a cat. There is something in here. I look around and around and around and around. So eventually, I go down to my my audio guy. He's in his own room, this big soundproof place. And sometimes he has other clients come in, and they'll do some VO for him. And I went in. I was like, knock, knock. I was like, hey, Doug. I was like, you didn't bring your dog or anything? Sometimes people bring dogs in or something. I said, you didn't bring your dog or anything, and did you? He goes, no. And I said, that's just the craziest thing, because I keep seeing this white cat that looks just like my cat in the building. And then this woman turns out to be doing VO work for him at the time. And she goes, oh, really? And I look over, and it's this older lady. And she goes, that's funny. And I'm like, why is that funny? And she goes, I've never seen this woman before in my life. She goes, I was expecting a visit today. And I was like, from your cat or something? She's like, no. She's like, I'm very in touch with the other realm or whatever. And I'm like, well, quit it. Because like, that's really scary. And I never saw the cat again that day. I was pretty terrified all day.
Ugh.
Oof. That's creepy.
Oh, Chloe went home. Oh, that's right. We were so freaked out that maybe, again, I don't know how that realm works.
Because she was like, maybe, like, I can't tell if what you saw is your visitor or mine.
Right, that's what she did. She says, well, yeah, she says, I wonder if that's your visitor or mine. And so I was so, like, she got in my head. Like, Chloe and I are like, maybe something's wrong with our cat, like, back home. We drove all the way back home to check on our cat, and he was fine.
He was fine, but, like, that's really scary. Like, what if, like, she had some kind of, like, weird sixth sense on like something that's going on like with our cat.
Totally
Ah.
spooky. Totally
Your one
spooky.
superpower is that you can check on your cat remotely.
Yeah, just to make sure they were okay. I mean,
Yeah,
God forbid they were in danger or something, and that was like a premonition or like a weird,
exactly.
like, yeah.
Well, thank you for the 104 likes on that post in 1 hour.
Yay!
And
Good job, guys.
you very, very well. Somebody tagged Butch Hartman's sketchpad, so maybe he'll get to see it, and
Oh my gosh, yes.
maybe I'll keep
That
drawing
would
like
be
that.
cool. hmm
But
I
tried,
really
man.
like your art style.
Hey, thanks. Well,
Mhm.
that's someone else's art style, but I did my best.
Well, I like the way that you did his art style. I mean,
Well, thank you. All right, I have to finish my douchey CV, but I will be around.
good luck. Have fun.
Thank you for the stories. Those are good.
Thanks for the spoopy nightmares. Couldn't have. I'm probably not going to be able to sleep.
Bro, do you have any comic relief scary stories that aren't scary?
I probably actually do. I do have. That's my take on this comic relief. Actually, I had a legit, like, a real, actual scary thing happen to me that was actually like a real person.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, not that these aren't real people, but I mean like a living person.
No, you're fine.
So yeah. So I was home alone for like a little bit. My mom took the dogs out. We had like, I think we had Annie and Cindy, so we had like 2 big dogs at the time, and she would take them across like a busy road where there was like a ditch area, and she'd walk them down like the sidewalk. So anyway, she's like, "You okay by yourself, right?" And I'm like, yeah, I got this. I'm like, just watching TV, doing homework. I was like really young at the time, like I don't know how old I was. But I thought I saw somebody like walk in our yard, and I like peeked through the front door, and I'm like, okay, well maybe she's back, and she wasn't. She was like, I could see her all the way like down. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then I didn't see him. And then I was watching TV, and I thought I saw like something go like past the window, like the side window, at one point, and I'm like, okay, well nobody would go down that way, because we had a gate, like we had the backyard gated at that time, I think.
Yeah.
Like, we gated that pretty quickly after we moved in, so I'm pretty sure there's a gate. So I'm like, well, usually that's locked, and then, like, I realized that there's, like, somebody actually in the very back. Like, our house is kind of like a straight shot from the living room all the way back. We had, like, a office kind of a space, and there's a sliding glass door. So you could see, like, from the front door all the way down, and there's, like, some guy, like, standing there peering in. In the backyard, looking in the house, and I like hid behind the couch. I was like, "Oh my god, what do I do?" And I'm like freaking out.
Like call or something.
Like, I don't know where the phone was at that time, and I don't think my mom had a cell. Like, I think this was before like we really had like cell phones and things. So my mom like came back. Like, I just hid, and then the guy I think eventually left because I didn't see him anymore. And I'm like, I don't know where he is. It's so freaky. Yeah, my mom came back with the dogs and like walked the whole area, and I think he was like creeping around some other houses. So I think my mom eventually did call the cops on him, but I don't think they ever caught him. It was just like really, really creepy, like really creepy. Like, yeah,
Horrifying.
Also getting some pretty creepy stories in the chat.
what?
Cameron did also add that there was, this one's more of a visual one, so I don't know. Them and their friend were on their trip. Should I do the dramatic?
Yes,
reading?
she's dramatic.
Yeah.
Dramatic reading.
All right.
Once upon a
Last
time.
No, this one starts with last night, Crow. Don't you?
Okay.
Last night, me and my friend were on my trampoline, and I did a jump. I slipped when I landed, and since my trampoline is kind of old, I don't like this story. It's kind of old. My arm went through the hole in the netting. My arm went straight to one of the springs, which is kind of rusty. Ugh, okay.
Did it like
Yeah, there. That's the story.
ah!
Oh,
I can't actually do that one. That's not scary. That's I mean, it is scary.
it's just horrifying. It's scary, but it's
Me and Lenora
Yeah.
had this friend in high school, and I feel really bad because I can't remember her name, but she was like,
I'm so bad at names.
she was a grade below me, and I think a grade above her. She was like really energetic and happy all the time, but she was also like just accident prone kind of, and she reached her hand into her purse one morning before class started,
Oh man.
and one of her clicky pens had like come apart. You know, clicky pens have like that tiny little spring that enables the click. She somehow, by sticking her hand in her purse, that spring had gotten stuck in her thumb and twisted just enough that she couldn't get it out. And the nurse tried, like the school nurse tried, and she ended up, like, no one could get it, so she had to go to the hospital, and they had to give her, like, 3 different shots in her thumb just to be able to untwist it and take it out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Sorry, girl, you look sick.
That's a moment of silence for that.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I could just like feel that like
We're not
little like sympathetic pain.
We're not.
She was really
Not
good
what?
natured about it, though. She was like, you know, out of everyone this would happen to, it would happen to me.
I have a story. One time
Tell.
in art class, we were doing gesture drawings with Crayola markers,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked over at my friend, and she had been chewing on her marker, and the ink was everywhere. And I said, "You need to go to the bathroom." And I think she thought I was not being nice. She's like, "I'm not going to go to the bathroom with you." And then I said, no, you need to go to the bathroom. I love her, but
Is this who I'm thinking of?
yeah.
Okay. I'm like pretty sure.
Sorry.
I knew that you were talking about her at the other story. I was like, is this her too? Oh my
That
gosh.
friend is my scary person.
Yeah, everything creepy.
A scary soulmate, if you will.
She was the one that saw like all the creepy stuff, like honestly. Like one time I think she saw like a lady crawling underneath her car. Like she said she saw like a shadow. Yeah.
Those were good times.
Mm-hmm. She was definitely more in tune with things.
Everything was well, this sounds bad. No, everything was a beautiful nightmare. We got stuck in graveyards and all kinds of junk. But no, there were a lot of weird things that happened, like constantly.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember hearing
I
something.
think like certain people when they get together, like reflect each other,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and then like they get like amplified.
Yeah.
I think you amplified the spooks.
Yeah, like little mirrors. I'm trying to think of like, there is a nice scary story. Well, it's not scary. It's just a nice story. I went to this museum.
Calm everybody down.
I went to this museum with my mom, and the museum was famous for a rose garden that the lady that like her husband owned the museum that was originally a house, and she had made this beautiful rose garden because of course she's filthy.
That's what they did back then.
Yeah, exactly. Like you had nothing to do, so she made this rose garden. And it smelled so good. It smelled like roses, and it was just like this like little bubble of like rose essence. Like you could just it's stuck in your nose. So we went to the house, and we're walking through, and yes, you can DM me stories, by the way. But we're walking through, and the house is 2 stories, and the way that the 2 stories was that there was a balcony on the 2nd floor, and then it was an open concept so you could see the 1st floor, and you could see the balcony of the 2nd floor all around the 1st floor. So I'm looking around, I'm like, wow, this is cool. And suddenly I see like someone like standing in one of the doorways, And it's kind of weird because like it's a guided tour. Like there aren't just people wandering around.
Yeah.
I look in I'm looking up and I'm like, that's kind of interesting. And it was an older lady, like a very like old lady. So I kind of like think, well, maybe it's a docent. It might be a docent, but she's dressed like not like a docent. Like she's dressed kind of like like a well-dressed older lady. But so we go up, and by the time we get up to the second floor on the tour, she's not there. But we go through that doorway, and he's saying, well, this is, actually, I think the lady's name was Mabel. This is Mabel's room. And anyways, so this is Mabel's room, and this is where she lived until the end of her life, blah, blah, blah. So we go, and we finish the tour, and I go to my car with my mom, and we had driven separately, so she's driving ahead of me to meet me back where we were going to meet. So we're both driving separate cars, and the entire time I'm in the car, it's like sickeningly strong scent of roses, like crazy rose smell, and I'm just like, what is this? And the entire time I just like think like there's somebody in the back seat, but I couldn't look, like I couldn't look at the back seat for some reason. I just kept driving, and when I got out of the car and I got to where I was, I asked my mom, like, hey, can you come tell me what you smell in my car? I'm just curious. I'm not going to tell you what I smell, but what do you smell? She goes in, she's like, roses, like intense roses. Oh. And then like we're just, because she knew too, and we were just kind of looking at each other like, do you think that, because it wasn't like that before. And she's like, no, your car doesn't smell like that at all. It was just like a really weird, like, because smelling is good. Roses are good.
I mean, it's not like it was malevolent. It was just kind of like
wanted a ride.
To where exactly?
Tenley asked, did you ever have a ghost in any of your photos? I haven't, but maybe you guys have. I don't.
I went on a ghost tour while I was in Savannah, Georgia once.
We went on a ghost
tour. Yeah. Well, I didn't get anything though. Oh. Okay. But so I went on this ghost tour, and like they talked about houses and this and that, and at some point we end up at this giant manor house, like right in the heart of Savannah, and they were telling us how like this guy was like super wealthy, and at the time he had slaves, and so like the basement level is where they had lived, and all the slaves practiced voodoo, and he encouraged that, and he actually like participated in it with them, kind of stuff. And so the lady on tour is like at the very beginning, they're like, take a lot of pictures, and anytime you take a picture, make sure you take at least like 3, because something may pop up on one that doesn't pop up on the other 2, and that also kind of validates that, it's not, it proves that it was just like that one frame you caught something. But they're like, lots of people catch things in the basement and in this house, so make sure you take a lot. And so I'm taking pictures with my cousin, and my ex was there with us, and he was taking pictures of us too. And it, like, we're checking them like as we take them too. And they had those like electric candles, like they look like old candlesticks, but then they got like the little battery powered lights. But they look very much like they would have belonged in the period, if not for the fact that they were electric. And we're sitting on this like little ledge, and there are those little like candle lights on either side of us. And in one of the pictures, and I have no idea where this picture ended up, one of the candle flames, even though there was no actual flame in the picture, it looked like there was just this like flame coming out of it that went up by like 2 feet. It just like out of nowhere, and like it was the only one, because we were taking sets of 3, and so I showed it to the tour guy, and they're like, oh yeah, it looks like you caught like a little bit of a spirit in that one.
Whoa.
Like, they like to do that with candles. And
that's
like
wild.
Yeah, and like I've never had that happen before, so I can't be like, this has happened in the past. It's like, no, that's the first time I've had a light have this weird anomaly coming out of it. Kind of weird.
It is wild.
We
Yeah.
have a couple commenters, chat people submissions.
Ooh.
Yay.
Let me just make sure I don't have any more here. Yeah, we got a couple. They're short though. One, Tinley mentioned that they got a ghost in their selfie, which is always a great surprise. Ruby says, "This is my story. Dramatic reading time. My school was having a fright night, and it wasn't good at all. So me and my friends decided to leave and go to the park. It was really dark outside, and my friend took a picture, and then we kept hearing twigs snap and leaves crunch. And then my friend yelled, 'Run!' We ran for it. Literally the next day, that friend says they have a photo with a ghost with black eyes in it. Dun, dun, dun.
What?
Some shorter ones. I think this is Kim. No, Kim's is, I was told that my great-grandma's funeral was in the den of our house. It was her last wish and to have one of our family members kneel to do the prayer. And they looked up and saw their great-grandma with a smile on their face. It's a little vague. I'm assuming the great-grandma.
Like the great-grandma was smiling. Yeah. You know.
And then
Oh,
someone says,
did you guys...
what?
Sorry.
What
I
is
have
it?
a story that's not... It's not actually, like, a story that happened to me. But have you heard of the story of the person who, like, woke up at their own funeral?
No, tell it.
No.
Okay. There was this older lady who apparently had a heart attack. I don't remember what country this was in, but she had a heart attack and she died. And then the autopsy, or not the autopsy, but the coroner pronounced her dead. They didn't do an autopsy. Just figured it was heart problems. So I think this might have been the Philippines. I don't really remember. But anyway, they had the funeral. Everybody was gathered there. They were talking about her. In the middle of it, she actually sat up and realized she was like at her own funeral and started screaming. And then she had another heart attack and actually died. And they pronounced her dead like 3 hours later and had to do another funeral.
Wow.
It's actually a true story too. It's not made up. Like, yeah.
Someone, an unknown source said it was Malaysia where that happened.
Oh, Malaysia. Thank you guys. Thanks for having my back.
Oh, I just thought of like a really small one that happened to me.
Yes.
Ooh, tell.
So like when we lived in that Michigan house, when we first moved in, it was like it had a second story, but then it also had a basement, and we rearranged our rooms a lot. Actually, it's kind of weird. But when we first moved in, 'cause I have a little brother and a little sister, we're all about 2 years evenly apart. And when we first moved in, for whatever reason, we got the master bedroom, like, between the three of us. And
Oh, nice.
I was, like, 10. My sister was, like, 5 or 6. My brother was, like, 7 or 8.
Mhm.
And there was this one night, and I don't remember if my siblings were even home or if they were just, like, asleep. My mom was a smoker, and so, like, straight out the bedroom door, there was, like, this tiny little living room. So, like, out the door to the right was the couch, and it had, like, a table lamp and stuff. And then on the left was the TV, but my bed was positioned so that I could look straight out that door all the way to, like, the far end of the house. But the doorway was constructed in a way that I couldn't actually see the front half of the couch. Like, I could see the far end of the couch, and I couldn't actually see the TV at all. But so my mom, being a smoker, she would, when she wanted to have a smoke, she would sit on the closer end of the couch, the part that I couldn't see, and she would have the window cracked open so that the smoke would blow outside. And so, you know, it was very common to hear her, like, pick up a glass and set it down on this table, cigarette tray stuff, just all those like normal living noises that you would hear. And I honestly do not know where everyone was this night, but I remember like the light was on that lamp that was on that table where like I couldn't actually see it, and it was like midnight or so, and I remember laying there and hearing these noises like my mom was on the couch, like having a smoke and taking a drink. But wherever she was, and I don't remember where, I knew she wasn't actually there, that there was no actual physical possible way that she could be there. Right. And I heard those noises go on for a long time. And I was too afraid to move or to say anything, so I just laid there and listened to it happen. And I don't remember anything outside of that. I think my dad eventually either came up from the basement or came down from their room upstairs and like turned the lamp off or something, because he's a night owl. And like I didn't even say anything to him, but like I knew she wasn't there. And like to this day, that was still like one of those weird things, like how nothing else happened.
Yeah, like what was going on?
Those weird like glassy noises from like the cigarette tray and stuff. Ugh.
Oh, that's spooky. Because it's like, why is the ghost doing that? Like, or like,
yeah, it's like, what's the point?
They just impersonate. Yeah, are they just like impersonating or like messing with people in the house?
I do feel like
or like
lot of things imitate what already exists. Like a thing that's already happened is easier to imitate than create a new thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got a couple questions about creepypasta, and I'd have to say, I don't have a favorite like really popular one, but I do enjoy reading it. And we also got a submission from Stella Light.
I want to read
This
one.
is gonna be dramatic reading. Okay. So it was around the time the clown sightings had become a thing, and in the middle of the night at about 3 a.m., my house alarm went off and woke me up, and I started panicking because I thought a clown broke into my house, which is a real problem right now. I'm hiding in my room and freaking out, but my alarm just keeps going off, and after like 5 minutes, my alarm turns off, and I'm relieved, thinking my dad or mom turned it off. So I leave my room and check, and literally no one was there. So I go and check the doors and windows to see what had set off the alarm, but everything was locked. So I just kind of think, whatever, I'm going to bed. But then I hear footsteps. I know they're not my parents because they're both in bed. So I literally ran back to my room, slammed the door shut, and just ignored it. I decided to go to bed and forget about it all, and I swear the entire night I could hear squeaky shoes outside my door. Ugh.
That's creepy.
That's creepy.
Is that real? Did that really happen?
To submit a story.
I'm gonna submit.
Somebody submitted a story for submitting a story.
I'm submitting a story for the house where you tilt it.
To be retold.
So
That is really scary, Stella Lights.
So this one, I don't know if it's scary, but I think it's really surreal. So before I went to college, I came back from Canada, and I went back to like Ohio and West Virginia and that area, just so I can kind of get back on my feet. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I was super discouraged because my mom had gone through a terrible divorce. I lost all my money. We were completely, literally broke, and I didn't have any way to get to college. I had to sacrifice a big scholarship. I was broken. I was a broken man. So so one day to a flea market with my grandma, and I love freaking flea market. And have you seen my toys?
Mm-hmm.
And and this is so weird. This is just the first step. So I went to a Wendy's, and I remember it was just so bizarre. We had gone to Wendy's, and not that we went to Wendy's. Wendy's is awesome. And while I was there, I was eating, and this really old guy comes walking up to our table. Okay, and I'm like, okay. and he walks all the way up, and he goes past my grandma, and he comes straight up to me, and he reaches his hand out, and he's like, "I know you," and I'm like, "I'm sorry," and he says, He says, "I'm a really big fan of your work," and I'm like, I'm like nobody, and he says, I'm a really big fan. He says, "Keep doing what you're doing," and he walks away, and I'm like, that was weird. So, but at the time, I was thinking like, I need to move out. I need to make some big steps. I was really scared. I have to move far away. It was one of the first times. Since then, I've moved like 8 times. But I was really debating like, should I be moving out? Should I be doing? So I kind of used that as fuel to say, okay, I'm gonna move out. Whatever that was. I'm like a big time travel conspiracy kind of guy. But
It was you.
maybe it was me from the future. But anyway, I was like, so.
Oh my God! It was your Master Fu.
Yes, it was Master Fu. So I moved out. I moved out on my own. I was really, really young, and I moved out, and I went to Ohio for a little bit and lived with that girl who was my ex-girlfriend at the time, and she and so I got a job at this place called Harry and David. Hey, Jindaya. So while I was working at this place, we'd make gift baskets and stuff like that. And this woman came in one day, again, elderly lady, came in. And I think her name was, they called her Lou or something like that, but she was this really old lady. And she came in, and she would stop, and because it was a pretty dull store, like there wasn't anything going on, she'd come in every week, and she'd wander over to me, and she'd go, and she'd say something like, "I really believe in what you're doing here." And I'm like, I'm literally bagging chocolates. And she would say things, and she would say these profound things. Like I remember one time she came in, and she had this little book of like Psalms, and she'd say, and she was like, she says, "You're going to do great things. You just need to believe in yourself. And I know you're scared right now." And I'm like, how do you know I'm scared right now? And so I got to the point where I was applying for college. I was going to have to leave everything behind again. Yeah. And she came in that one day, and that little thing she was always carrying around, I didn't say anything. I literally said nothing. And she came in, and she says, "I think you need this more than I do now." And she gave me that little book of Psalms or whatever. And she was like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, you got to keep doing this. And so, again, I'm like, okay, like, here we go. So it encouraged another step in my life. So I went to college. I still have that little book around here somewhere. And
that's amazing.
And yeah, and so it's just bizarre because whenever I'm in dire straits, these old people will come up to me and like, "You mustn't give up. You must keep going." I wish an old person would show up to me soon. And but yeah, I always thought that was really.
You never know.
That was Mrs. Fu.
I just got 2 little submissions, and they're terrifying. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll save my lighthearted one then for after that.
Because these are scary. They're terrifying. All right, so I'll tell the less creepy one first. One time I went to a children's cartoon theater, I'm assuming like for kids, and I was sitting down to watch a movie, but I came in late, so the lights were already off. During the movie, a little girl kept staring at me without blinking, and her face was so close to mine. And I was getting really irritated, but I didn't want to say anything because it was just a little kid. And, kids do that kind of stuff all the time. Finally, it became too much, and I turned to tell her to stop, and I came face to face with the movie theater wall.
Oh, wow.
So she was there.
Was there even a bed?
That's so creepy.
And then I've got the second one that they said. And so
nope.
They were walking home. Yeah. They were walking home with a friend, and as they were walking past a public area, they noticed an old lady just staring at the ground. And her friend were kind of like, let's just will ignore that old lady. Maybe, they're just lost. They keep walking and they pass another public area, and the same old lady is there staring at the ground in another area. It's weird. Maybe she ran. I don't know. Because, they're walking too, so theoretically she could make it, I guess. So they keep going on to the friend's apartment. And they go inside, and they're just kind of like chatting, and they hear a knock on the door, but it's like a hurried knock, like that, like very loud and very fast.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that knock.
I didn't like that knock either. Take it back.
They go to check. There's like a camera that tells you that can show you who's at your door, and they see the old lady, but she's like right up against the door, like literally like head right at the door. Yeah. And she keeps she does that knock and then she stops. So it's literally like unbelievably fast knocking, and it just doesn't match because it's like a super old lady. So they're like, maybe she'll go away. We didn't want to. They kind of like opened the door like a crack with the chain on it, and the old lady literally just stood there. So they slammed it shut, and then the old lady just kept knocking and knocking and knocking. They went back into the house to like wait it out. This old lady kept knocking for half an hour.
Yeah.
And then finally, because like they didn't like, she had to go home, so she like crawled out the window.
Oh my God.
She was able to pass the front to see if the old lady was there on her way, and there was like no one there. So she just like ran.
Oh, that gave me the shivers down my spine.
So
I have a really like horrifying one that I just thought of.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay. This happened to my aunt. So my aunt, and she married into the family. So like my uncle, her husband is my dad's brother. Anyways, so my aunt was really into like psychic readings and stuff. And so she went to this psychic lady, and the lady told her that someone very close to her was going to die. And so she assumed it was going to be my uncle. And a couple weeks later or so, her sister actually ended up passing away. She was murdered by her husband. And her 3 kids had somehow managed to survive by hiding under the beds and stuff. But ever since that night, my aunt would see this shadow figure, and it would just like be waiting for her in the garage and in the hallways and stuff of this house. So in 2000, they ended up moving out of that house and moving to a house farther up the street, like brand new house. They, got to design how it was going to look, whatever. So for a long time, they were the only new house, or the only house in this new subdivision. And they got security cameras, because when you're isolated like that, it can be kind of dangerous. And she kept going to this psychic lady for a little bit, and then she ended up stopping because it seemed like every time she went, the shadow man would come more frequently. So she stopped going, so they had a security camera that showed what was happening inside the garage, and like they had this teeny tiny little monitor television like right in the kitchen, which would display what's going on in the garage. And she would constantly see this shadow in the garage just waiting for her to come out or to let it in, but it would stay in the garage. It wouldn't actually come in the house at this new place. And no one else would see it on the monitors, but she would constantly see it. And it took like 5 years or so of not going to a psychic. And, it finally stopped coming back.
Oh, so
wow.
weird.
That is really weird.
I knew
It's
someone.
like you invited, like she invited it or something, basically.
because,
Sorry,
you know,
go ahead.
contacting the spirit world, and then it was like, hey, I'm allowed to be here because you're interested.
There was
Yeah.
a older lady who went to school with some relatives. I mean, it's super old. Remember, I'm just passing these stories down. I don't know all of them, but there was they would take photos. Remember how they don't do it really anymore, but in schools and like to take pictures every year, they would just take a picture of the whole class,
Right.
individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for several running years at this school, is like this old hick school in the middle of nowhere. The picture would come out and everything would be fine, except in the corner, always in the corner, there would be a dog, a black dog, and there was no dogs weren't even allowed in the school, and it was all taken inside. And I think there's actually a picture of it somewhere online of these various school photos, and there's this black dog, and it's like every other year this black dog will show up, and that was even reported on one of those haunted shows too. But anyway, I always thought that was creepy because why a dog? Like, why not like a shape or something? Like, why take the form of a? It's just
Right.
like why?
I don't know.
Why do the things that?
Why every other year too?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did it just get bored or forget? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
Huh.
Super awful. Super terrible.
Ugh.
Oh, I had a.
So my story is
Sorry.
Huh?
You go.
no. Oh, okay. My story was like lighthearted to kind of like make everybody feel a little bit better. So it's kind of sad. Sorry. My grandma was real close with this lady named Bonnie, and we would go over to her house and spend time. And her husband at the time, Bobby, was a sweet man. He used to give like candy to us kids and spend time with us. Like all the adults would usually be like off talking and drinking beers, and then he would just like come over and be like, "Hey guys," and spend time with us. So anyway, unfortunately, he passed away, and it was like I was really distraught over it because like the first person like that was close to me that actually died, and I didn't have like a concept of it. But about like 2 or 3 days later or so, I had this really clear dream. Like, you know how you have dreams, but they're kind of like sometimes they'll be like foggy or details aren't like really there. This is like really super clear, and I remember it like so vividly to this day. It's basically like me in like this empty room, but there, and I was sitting on the chair, and he just came up to me like perfectly like clear as day, but like really healthy. And he gave me a lollipop, and he's like, "Everything's okay here. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm fine." You know, type of a thing. And it was like so intense. I just woke up like with a really good feeling.
Aww.
But the weirdest thing was my mom had a very similar dream that he came to her. It wasn't as intense. Like he didn't say as much, but it was like about the same time frame too.
Ugh.
Wow.
Why the one person, man?
I don't think it was the same night, but I think it was like we compared notes type of a thing.
Yeah.
Katie. Oh, I'm a great dramatic reader. We did have a Timely told the story of, I think everyone read it, the selfie in the fog, and then there was a ghost.
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah.
We did have another submission. It's from the same old lady person. I was coming home from the station late at night in a bike, and I put my phone in my bike basket. I got about halfway home and noticed my phone had fallen out. So I turned around and I turned on my bike light, and I started checking the place I was carefully all the way back to this like really poorly lit corner. Suddenly the light revealed a man crouched to the ground with really long fingers, scratching the concrete with his fingers until the point where they were bleeding. I went past him really quickly, really freaked out, and found my phone and went home the same way. but I couldn't see the man as I was passing the same area. The next day, I passed that area and I went to look at where the man had been, as there was like little stains, brown stains from like blood on the sidewalk. Ugh. The heck?
What? Oh.
So creepy. Those are like level 10.
Aren't you
Wait,
all glad you joined us for the stream?
Yeah,
You're gonna sleep great.
Beautiful dreams all tonight for everybody.
Somebody's like, what is this story? A scary story? It's Spookystream.
Did Topher had another scary story though? Where'd he go?
Topher, you have another?
Topher. I'm sorry, Topher.
He forgot.
What?
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll probably remember it.
Okay.
He'll be back if he remembers it.
Okay. Do we have to give you more likes? Because I'll make more accounts.
Again.
I don't know. It's gotten quite a few.
Yay!
Ugh.
I'm all spoops.
My phone is like haunted now. Thanks everyone for all the submit.
Why? Because of all the stories getting sent to you.
Yeah, I'm like, ugh. I kind of love it though.
It's a brand new phone too.
We have a successfully haunted pretty small, so that is good.
I'm actually very scared for her right now.
Thank you, Katie.
Apple Pen. Yeah, that'll ward off the ghosts.
No
Because
pen.
they'll be too terrified. Yeah, they'll be too terrified of that song to come haunt your house. So just start singing it really loudly.
See, I'm a bad person, so I started Googling, like, other haunted stories to try to, like, kickstart my memory on some of the ones from Ohio.
Some of them you won't remember. Like, it's hard to kind of, like, think of them at the time because you kind of block them out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know
Like-
there's been more creepy stuff that's happened to me, but I honestly don't remember the details.
Well, you tend to block them out, too, if it's something, like, really unnatural and, you know, you
Mhm.
can write it off.
Yeah. Apparently, wait.
Actually, Lenora worked at a really haunted place over the summer.
Where?
What?
Well, it's like this little restaurant place. It's like a little mom and pop's place in Springboro, Ohio. It's called The K, and they usually sell like ice cream and like deep fried things and hamburgers. It's really small. And I don't even know all the details on it, but like it was like they had this guy, I think, or there's like one or two ghosts in this place, and I'm gonna butcher this because she told me about it one time. But no, there wasn't a water baby. But
Just to add a couple.
yeah.
Throw a couple in there. Annie. You're good at that.
You hush. But they were like, oh, here it is. She's talking about it. The place where I used to work was apparently haunted. It was a part of the Underground Railroad, and we could actually see the trap door under one of the cabinets through a hole.
Whoa.
And
I like how you added the ha-ha.
well, it was there. That's great. She wrote that before she even saw that I was about to talk about it.
Finish it, Lenora.
Yes. We need to know more.
Type in the wind.
No,
You
you're
must
so.
know.
And I don't think anything
Or
actually
Chloe can
happened to her.
go full
It was, like,
throttle.
everything
Oh,
else.
okay.
But
What kind of
you
stuff
know,
would happen?
like I can't remember. I have to wait for her to give it to me.
Aw.
But like I just
Give out the
remember-
goods, Lenora.
Like I think a couple people would like see something, or like they would feel like they were being watched. Okay, well the lights upstairs would come on a lot, and no one would be in the back near the light switch.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That's creepy. I can see them going off, but on? Like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's creepy.
Ooh.
Okay. Someone turned around at one point in the back storage, and there was a faceless man in a trench coat. Just standing there, just chilling.
Oh my gosh.
The one that turned the light on.
I do have an urban legend.
Huh?
I do have an urban legend after.
Okay. The one that turned the light on all the time was apparently named Heidi or Heidi something. I don't think
Hash
that's
slinging slasher. Stella says the hash slinging slasher. The guy in the trench coat. Did he have a spatula?
What's the urban legend?
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually about my workplace. So it's there's my old workplace. I used to work at Busch Gardens in Tampa, and there's an elevator in the old Crown Colony restaurant, and everybody claimed that every time that somebody rode the elevator, something spooky would happen, or like occasionally would happen. But they were pretty sure that it was haunted by this little girl, because it would stop and then start up again, or the lights would come off and on, or it just wouldn't work occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's like the only thing, and it was kind of weird because they said it was like a little girl, but there was nobody that, like a little girl that died in the theme park or anything, so I'm like, I don't know, but maybe it was like the ground it was built on or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ugh.
People that didn't know about it, though, would encounter weird stuff with the elevator, so don't know.
We have two more submissions. One is, if you all missed the creepy knocking old lady, apparently there's more.
Yay!
She did not come back because I will flip my shit. Flip out.
It's really creeping me out that it's on my phone, actually. You know what I mean? Because it's a weird...
Your phone's just gonna start glitching out tomorrow.
Yeah, I have another person, too. We passed that lady again, and we stood outside the apartment looking for a cat that lived nearby, and we were just talking, and we noticed her again standing at the end of the street under the streetlight looking at us. We were upset because, I mean, the thing with knocking. And my friend was asked hello, and the old lady ran like at a breakneck pace towards us, and then we ran back to the apartment.
Jeez.
And that's where the story ends. I don't know. It might be
Back old woman.
Good going. And then we have one. I have cosmetology classes every day for school, and they end at 5:33. But I take a bus back to my normal school, so I don't actually get home until after 6.
Mm-hmm.
But on my walkway home from school one night this week, I forget which day, there was a person in a gray hoodie that was all the way zipped up. He was on his knees doing something on the ground as I passed him. And then right as I was passing him, he got up and ran further away to get back on the ground and do something else. There was a fence in between us, but it gave me a bad feeling, and I kept looking back. But everybody in the cars passing me were looking at me strangely because I was constantly looking over my shoulder. I was terrified and walked back really fast back to my house, and that's the end of the story.
What was he doing?
IDK.
I love these cliffhangers. They're great.
I know, they're like, ugh.
It's the best.
Ugh. My phone is haunted.
Very
Yeah.
disturbed. I'm disturbed. I'm shook.
I'm shook. I don't like that old lady one because it keeps getting like mildly worse every time.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering who is sending it to you.
All of these
Because
anonymous
are they alive?
Are they alive? Maybe you're dead.
Did they make it through it? Like, this seems like one of those stories where it's like, dun dun dun, the ghost was sending you messages the whole time.
Good night, Melanie. So, are we wrapping?
Sleep well.
We've been on this for
Wrapping up.
about 2.5 hours, so I think Does
I
any-
think I'm all out of spoopy.
Yeah, I think I'm out.
I'm tapped.
All right, guys.
I have spoop.
We're gonna go and curl up in your blankets and just think about stuff.
Hide in your vests.
Think about how lucky you are that you weren't in most of these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just like this, you know, guys. Like nobody can see you.
I'm safe.
Pretty Small keeps
Yes.
referring to something that we're gonna have to question in the next stream. So, bye, Kim.
Yeah,
Bye, ladybugs.
I'm kind of concerned.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Pretty
Don't play
small,
with
don't.
Ouija boards. It's a bad idea.
Yeah. No Ouija boards.
No,
How can you sell those as like a game? That's like by Hasbro, isn't it?
I know it's.
Sell something, they just sell them right there in the middle of the store. Those belong in like cult shops.
Yes, exactly. Voodoo shops somewhere far, far away.
Yeah.
Not where you can just like invite creepy stuff in your house anytime you want, like, for $19.99. You guys should go watch.
Keeps on going.
Yeah, there should be like a Ouija board commercial where it's like, let's have a lot of fun, and like a Ouija board, and then like all of a sudden you see your kids screaming.
Before everybody leaves, somebody's asking when the next stream is, and I'm gonna say like I kind of want to start doing more regular streams, so I'm gonna keep announcing them, and of course like I love talking to Kuro and Chloe, so
Yes.
hopefully we'll have more of these. Maybe not all spooky streams because that's a little intense.
Well, we just gotta like replenish our. We'll just get like a novel full
We'll all get
of
a
like
Ouija
scary
board.
stories. We are not getting
We'll all
a
get
Ouija board. This is a
and then
bad
next week
idea.
we can-
The next week we can share all the awful things that have happened to us.
You guys, especially because you're kind of enticing some ghosts. At least the box ghost, like right now.
I know, right?
And I do think it'd be fun to do some like either like game streams or challenge streams because I know we've all been talking about those. So
Yeah, those would be fun.
yeah, let us know like what you guys kind of like. We'll do it anyways if you don't like it or if you like it. Just kidding.
There's a cool challenge, speaking of which, before we end it, Team Edge just did recently, where it was like they had to write a true story and a false story about themselves in like a certain situation, and then they went around and each person like would vote if it was true or false, and you get like a point based on it. It's a pretty fun game.
That game, that's in the book Memoirs of a Geisha. That's where I heard of that game.
Really?
Yeah, you tell.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's all fiction, but you tell two stories. One is real, one is not, but they're both meant to sound real, and then everyone votes on which one it is. You're not supposed to like win anything, but it's more like a haha, I got it right.
Right, exactly. Can you tell?
What is questions only? Because somebody mentioned that.
I have no idea. But first impression is that's truth or dare, but just truths.
That might have been what they called it too, because they called it something weird. Because you ask questions you could ask as many questions as you wanted about it
Oh.
to try to see if the story held up.
Yeah.
Selling our secrets challenge, I think maybe. That's what it was called.
And then somebody said 2 truths and a lie, so I think that is it. Truth and punishment as well.
Ooh.
That sounds painful.
Yeah, I don't really like that idea.
Oh, you can only speak in questions.
I'm really bad at that.
Yeah.
I can't pun. I
Dash did that one too. Sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, Joy, I read your story. It's the one with the Where did it just go? I just had it. It disappeared. I had your
Chloe,
story.
you have a comment. Chloe, you're amazing.
Aw, thank you, Katie.
Okay.
Ooh, Pretty Small volunteered to be another player.
Yes, please.
That would be awesome.
Pretty Small just said nope, no. Yay, Denia, thank you. Oh, and there is
Oh yeah, I watched that episode recently. Okay, sorry. Anyway, sorry, me fangirling over Team Edge.
And then someone said Undertale stream, which I guess I'm the only one that hasn't played that, but
I haven't played it.
oh,
Have you watched it though? Cause
No.
no, okay.
I just know it's a big thing from all the cosplayers.
damn. I think that would actually be really funny.
I think I'm the only one.
And
That would be fun, actually.
Kuro couldn't say anything like helpful. You could only be like, We should do that.
That actually would be pretty neat. Because you guys, like, enough time has probably gone by where I don't think you'd be, like, remembering all the stuff that came out about the game. Because it kind of got ruined by a lot of the fan base for a bit. Whereas, like, so much everywhere. Now it's kind of, like, backed off a lot.
We'll need to figure out, like, a good, like, game streaming setup. Because if everyone likes games, you can watch us play games and criticize our decisions.
Criticize us. I know OBS, you can just set it to record you play a game, and that way you don't have to worry about like the live stream messing up or like glitching or needing to buffer, because it would all just record straight to your computer, and you can set it so that it records your microphones too, and then you just upload it when it's done.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I started doing it for Outlast, but then I haven't played it for a while.
Yeah, you should play Outlast.
Yeah, because you're going to record you're still going to record it though, right?
It's all recorded so far, but it's I played 3 different nights for like a half hour to an hour each. So like about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours to get to this one point, right? Topher plays it one night because he was bored. Takes him a half hour to get exactly where I am, and he quits it because like, it's just not my kind of game. Like, what?
Doesn't matter. You still have to play it.
Or maybe start with like a baby game, like a little like less scary game, and work your way up to it.
I know we do have so many games, just don't ever.
Not Amnesia. Amnesia's free. I can't even play Amnesia. What about Five Nights at Freddy's? It's not as scary. It's just jump scares.
Yes, it's more challenging than anything. Oh my gosh, Pat. Okay, chat's over.
I do want to get Five Nights at Freddy's sometime just to say I played it.
Mm-hmm.
The first one. I survived.
Yes, I survived Five Nights at Freddy's. I actually did I think I got to like the 5th night. I never played past that because it got too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I never played the second one either because I was done.
I need like a support systems. Like I need multiple people. So like when you get to like anxious, you can like just swap out.
Maybe we could do that.
That would actually be a really good idea.
Uh-huh. Okay, so wrap.
Yes, we are continuing to wrap this up, and
Alyssa, being like talks for 20 more minutes.
Alyssa, do you want to play Overwatch? Are you still there?
Oh
I'm messaging you.
I think we know what everyone's
feels. Yeah.
Yay!
All right, guys, we know what they're doing. Thank you, everyone, for like watching and listening and telling stories. I love you guys submitting stuff. That's super fun. So we'll do this again soon.
Mm-hmm.
We need like open submissions.
Yes. Well, like, how about this next time? Next time I'll like warn people like beforehand, like, yo, we're probably gonna have a stream, and then like you guys can like just send me junk.
That would be awesome.
Yes, it would. All right, everyone. Thank you. You guys are so cool. I almost called you baller. All right, everyone. Good night. Bye, chat people. I'm ending it now.
Woo!